I'll be honest, I didn't want to be here anymore. I was thinking of ways to commit suicide. And that's the first time I've ever told anyone this. And it's a hard thing to talk about because when you're laying in bed thinking of ways to take your own life, that's when you know the shit's hit the fan.
Welcome everyone back to the Words of Rizdom Podcast. We are back once again, and this time with a very, very special guest. I'm very excited for this episode myself. We are joined by Twistz, aka John. Thanks
Hello.
for coming, man.
Thanks for having me.
No, it's my pleasure. I know it was a long journey.
Yeah, but it's an honour to be here.
It's an absolute pleasure.
It's a big platform to be on for my first podcast. It's quite a bit nerve-wracking, but yeah, it's worth the journey, mate. So thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me here.
No, absolutely appreciate it. And I can't wait to get into your journey because I feel like it's going to be a very interesting one.
Yeah,
and,
hopefully. Yeah.
With lots of value for the people out there, no doubt at all.
Yeah.
But that's where we begin. We begin with how you got to where you are today, and you can be as brief for as long as you want, and then we'll just take it from there.
So as you know, for me, trading's been a very short journey so far. I'm 7 months into it, just under 7 months. Prior to that, car salesman for 20 years, moving up the ranks, and eventually my last job was general sales manager for Audi VW. Nice. And last year was a bit of a hard year for me last year. 2022 saw me in hospital in April. I'm not going to digress too much into it because I don't want it to be a bit morbid for my first podcast, but I think it's relevant and I think it's important because leaving work back in April, I just wasn't happy there. I've never been happy with the job I've done. I've always felt like there's something more about me. There's always something more that I could be doing in my life. And it's almost like I got to the point where the directors of the business would be coming in, talking about the holidays that they've just been on, or the £1 million apartments that they've just bought, or flashing the watches that he's just bought. And I just thought, you know what? For as long as I'm going to be here, I'm never, ever going to be in that position, ever going to be in that position. So I have to thank him really for doing that, because eventually it spurred me on. And my thought process was, as long as I'm working in a full-time job, and as long as I'm in employment, there's going to be 100% probability that I'm never, ever going to fulfill my own dreams, ever. However, if I leave, there's at least a 1% chance that I might make it. And taking those odds, I'd take that 1% over 100% never been able to do the thing I want to do for the rest of my life. So it was worth taking that risk. And at the time, there was a 1% chance for me, and that was worth the risk. But it got to a point where, with work, the stress was just incredible. The demands that work were putting on me were just incredible. It made me ill. It gave me really bad anxiety. It made me lose relationships. The hours were ridiculous. And eventually, I'll be honest, I didn't want to be here anymore. Last year, April, I put myself in hospital because I was thinking of ways to commit suicide, if I'm being honest. And that's the first time I've ever told anyone this. And it's a hard thing to talk about because when I look back now, it was such a silly thing to think. It was such a silly thing to go on in my mind because I've got so much to live for. There's so many people around me. But at the time, I couldn't see that. It was very clouded by a very heavy mindset, a very ugly mindset. And when you're laying in bed and you're thinking of ways to go and thinking of ways to take your own life, that's when you know things are seriously, like the shit's hit the fan. And I needed to sort myself out. And thankfully, I put myself in hospital because as much as I was thinking those things, I genuinely wanted to still be around and I still wanted to live. So I put myself in hospital, and that was a turning point from there. I thought, enough's enough. Like, I can't do this anymore. I can't go through this process of just being miserable all the time, because all I was doing was trading my time for money. And as much as the money was great, every other aspect of my life was shit. I hadn't, hardly had any friends because I worked full time. The hours were ridiculous. Come weekend, I didn't want to do anything. I just wanted to stay in and just chill out. Relationships were on their ass because I just couldn't spend time for people. I couldn't spend time with family. And it was just getting progressively worse. So I thought, enough's enough. Like, there's more to life. There's got to be more. And I always had that inkling inside me that I could always do something more with my life. I just didn't know what it was. But now I look back at it, and that was a blessing putting me there, if I'm being honest. And people might think that's crazy. Like, what? Like, putting yourself in hospital because you wanted to kill yourself is a blessing. Yes, in a way, because that was the turning point. That was the thing that spurred me on to just think, right, I don't know what it is I want to do. I don't know where I'm going to be, but I know I can't be here anymore. And I just left, and I just walked out of the job. So when I was in hospital, I never went back. That was it. I just never went back to work. So we transport forward from April to December, still not having a clue what I wanted to do in my life. But I was a lot happier because I wasn't in that environment anymore. So as much as I didn't really know what I wanted to do, I was a lot happier because I wasn't in that situation. And then my brother-in-law started trading in June, but I wasn't paying interest in June because my mind was elsewhere.
Of course.
I wasn't interested. But then as the months came on and I went round more and I saw what he was doing, I thought, oh, that's a bit interesting. Like, what are all those squiggly lines on his monitor? And it made no sense at the time. Like, I was just intrigued by it. And at the time, from June to sort of December, he was looking at like support and resistance, as I now know it. I didn't know what it was back then. And then towards the back end of the year, ICT, which everyone knows about. And I think November time, I asked him, I said, right, come on, I'm interested now. What is it? What do I need to do? Point me in the right direction. Let me see some videos. Let's see what it's all about. At the time, unfortunately, he put me in the direction of ICT. I say unfortunately. It was unfortunate for me at the time because I'm a very visual person, and I like to. I learn from visualizations. And when I was on the ICT videos, they were a bit mundane. The length of them was very long for what could have been condensed into maybe 20, 25 minutes. We're an hour into a video and I'm like, oh no, is this really what trading's about? Okay, like for me, it's like, oh. So I messaged him and said, listen, I don't think this is for me. I genuinely don't. And he was like, right, fair enough. And then 2 or 3 weeks later, he stumbled upon M7, as we know, the DR Academy, as it's now known, but it wasn't back then, through a Discord group called The Trading Guide. I don't know whether you've heard of it.
I haven't. But...
No, you have?
I haven't.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't.
And there was a guy in there talking about they've seen some guy called The Master on YouTube, and this is going to be the next big thing, and go and have a look at it, kind of thing. So he did, and then he was quite drawn in by it and just said, listen, I know you weren't sort of bowled over by ICT. Go and have a watch of this and see what you think. I was instantly taken. I was instantly just... Some of his videos were 3 hours long, Riz. And I was there and time had flown by and I'm still, wow, this is just incredible. I didn't know what I was looking at because at the time I didn't even know what TradingView was, but I was interested in the concept and how he spoke and the delivery of how he put his videos across. It was almost like a visual painting for me. And it was easy to understand. So I thought, yeah, okay, this could be something that we could get into. And then within the same week, M7 announced that he was starting the academy in January/February. So I thought, right, that's what I need to be doing. And that's where it all came from. Like, it literally, for me, if I hadn't have left work and I hadn't have been in that really dire situation, I wouldn't have come across it, because prior to that, I'd never spent much time with my brother-in-law. We maybe messaged once every month or we saw each other at family gatherings. Now, I speak to the guy more than I speak to my missus. Like, it's crazy how things can turn, but I just think like that happened for a reason. And as much as I didn't know what the reason was in April and the situation was really bad, the reason was to find where I am today, because the passion I have for the academy. The passion I have for trading is the same passion that I have for the gym. And I've never really found anything like that prior to the gym's the only thing that I've ever had that passion for. And then trading came along, and it was like it matched it. It matched in equal quantities the passion that I had, and I was like, this is what I'm meant to do. And that's where it came from, and that's how I started. So yeah, and then we fast forward to now where we are today, and we're September, so I've been doing it 6-7 months. So prior to that, never done it before.
Incredible. And you recently passed an evaluation for it.
Yeah. So passed 3 Apex challenges, which you probably know yourself. Apex not renowned for being the most easiest challenges to pass because of their trailing drawdown issue, but yeah, passed 3 of those. Top step account was passed, but didn't meet the consistency rule, which is really annoying. The consistency rule just really baffles me, but yeah, I'm still trying to battle to pass that because my wins were too big, so it doesn't fall in line with their rule set, which is pretty frustrating. But yeah,
I can imagine.
So yeah, 3 Apex and a top step in the mix, and maybe some more in the near future because we've got, I think, My Funny Future's coming out soon as well.
Yeah. So you trade futures, right?
Yeah.
Incredible. And
yeah,
in the space of 6-7 months.
Yeah.
Because it's not, as you probably know by now, when you first started, you might not have known. Did you have like a sort of idea of how long it would take you to get profitable or consistent, or was it kind of just go with the flow?
If I'm being honest with you, and I think everyone can relate to this, I think you have this idea that within 6 months you'll be driving around in a Lamborghini and you'll be driving these cars, you'll be flashing the cash, and your life will change and the rest will be history. And I think I kind of had that mindset that would be possible. So I think a little bit of naivety. I knew it would be hard. I just didn't know how hard it was going to be. So I kind of said to myself, maybe within the first 6 months, this is where I want to be. And I'll tell you, it's not happened. And it's really humbled me and brought me back down to earth because, and I kind of swear,
of course,
trading's fucking hard. and anyone that tells you any different, run away. Seriously, run away because it's very, very hard. But I didn't realize how hard it was going to be. And I'm used to taking hard challenges. Like hard challenges are not something that I've ever shone away from. I've bodybuilded for the past 15, 16 years. And the amount of dedication, and when I think back at some of the things that I used to do to get to where I wanted to be, people will think I was insane. And people used to call me obsessed. But I like that. Like I love being known as being obsessed. I think it's a good quality to have if it's in the right way.
Of course.
And I have got an obsessive nature when it comes to success and putting my all into everything. I'm very much all or nothing. And that's how I knew that I could throw myself into trading very similarly to bodybuilding. Because I think as much as they are worlds apart, they're very similar to a degree. And especially when it comes to mindset, because you've got to have that discipline, you've got to have the accountability, responsibility, motivation. You've got to have all that with bodybuilding, because if you don't, none of it will follow. People just think you lift a few weights, you go to the gym for a few months and you can build a physique. It's not. It doesn't work like that. And as much as it's always been a hobby for me, I've always taken it to the nth degree to get to where I want to get to. So I've always had those goals when it comes to physique of where I want it to be. It's like stages. And that's how I am with trading. So yes, to a degree, did I have a plan in mind? Yeah, I thought within the first 6 months, I'd probably be making money. But certainly within sort of 12 months, I would have said so, yeah.
Definitely. And you can see the dedication. So like when bodybuilding, what was it about bodybuilding that sort of took your intrigue?
I just like the fact that the journey could be never ending. It's one of those things where you never know where it's going to take you, and you never know how good you could make it yourself. But it was one of those things that I knew with enough dedication and enough commitment, it could be again, we go into the visual side of things. So I'm very visual, and I don't know whether I've got a problem with that, but I like the fact that you can turn yourself visually into something else. I mean, I started the gym because I was bullied as a 16, 17-year-old. I was bullied for my weight because when I started the gym, I was like probably 75, 78 kilos, maybe less. Yeah, no, it was actually less. It was around about the 70s, so about 70 kilos. And I always got bullied because none of my clothes fitted me, which ironically, none of my clothes fit me now. It's like the opposite end of the scale, but you know, I prefer to be this way than where I was. But yeah, the gym was always there because I just thought I need to do something because I'm obviously skinny. Like people take the piss all the time. What can I do? And it was started to just get into clothes better. But then I got the bug. Then I entered the gym for the first time and I was like, wow. And I saw some of the lads in there. I was like, shit, is that what you can become? Like, that's cool. Like a normal body can be turned into that. It's like, wow. And it helped me from there. And 17 years later, I'm still doing it. Not as bad as what I was. Like, I tell you some stories. Like, I used to go to the cinema with broccoli and chicken. So like my girlfriend used to be in there with ice cream and popcorn, and I'd be rocking up with broccoli, chicken, and rice. And it used to stink the place out, but I didn't care, mate. I didn't care because I had a goal, and the goal was so ingrained in my head at the time. Nothing could stop me from doing what I wanted to do at that moment. And it did cause a few rifts, relationship-wise, of course. Like you can imagine it did.
I can only imagine. Yeah.
And like getting on planes to go on holiday, like I'd have pre-packed meals with me, and I wouldn't eat anything. So like when I've got family that are eating full breakfast and full English breakfast in the airport, I'd be pulling out my eggs, cold eggs, like cold, and they stunk, and I didn't care because I knew if I deviated from that, I'd be one step less from where I wanted to be. At the time, I didn't know where I wanted to be. I just knew that if I didn't eat in a certain way and didn't have that regimented, structured way, I was never going to get that change that I wanted to get to. And that's where the obsessiveness came in.
Definitely.
So
did you ever compete, or was it literally just for personal?
Yeah, it was always ever for personal. Wow. People have asked me all the time, like, why have you not competed? And I've never found the admiration of standing on stage in those little budgie smugglers, wanting to flex and be on center stage for people to pick at every little muscle detail and pick at every little aspect of the physique. It's never really been something that I've ever wanted to do. And I admire guys that do it because, I think I'm obsessive with it. But when you're competing, it's like, it's next level. Like, I thought I was next level taking broccoli to the cinema. These guys and girls, are just even more to the next level of what they do when it comes to diet. So there was that element as well that I would never have enjoyed. But yeah, no, it's never been something that I'd wanted to do.
So it's just to be the best version of yourself.
Yeah. And at the time, it was only ever to just get a little bit of muscle on, get clothes to fit me a little bit better. But then it sort of morphed into this real big passion, and it's the only thing I've ever stuck at consistently. Everything else I've tried and given up.
Yeah.
Not through lack of belief, but just through lack of boredom. So just not wanting to.
So it didn't get you hooked. It was like that passion wasn't there for that particular aspect. Yeah.
I think with anything in life, I think you've got to have a passion. And I think if anyone tells you any differently, I think they're kidding themselves, because if you haven't got a passion and you don't enjoy something, how can you continue to want to do it? Because motivation only lasts a certain length of time before it fades. It's like fuel in a car. It goes eventually. And that's where you need the discipline to kick in. That's where you need the accountability to kick in, and the persistence and the raw grit and all that comes with success. You can't rely on motivation alone. And I think motivation and passion are very tightly linked to each other. So I think anyone that's not got a passion for it is going to really suffer eventually in the long run.
Definitely. And along your journey, Were there any other sort of like business ventures that you tried or came across or thought you felt passionate about that maybe didn't work out?
Yeah, I had a business with my ex-partner at the time, and it was selling ceramic plant pots.
Okay.
And that materialized through COVID.
Okay, yeah.
When I think every man, woman, dog, cat in the world was trying to start a business because they were at home.
Yeah.
But it got really big.
Oh, wow.
And it got to the point where we were doing more orders than we could cope with. I had to move out of the kitchen into the basement. I had to then move out the basement into a unit. And it was just growing. But I didn't have a passion for it. I didn't have a passion for ceramic plant pots, packing boxes and shipping them off and all the other stuff that came with it, customer relations, and dealing with emails and placing orders and taking deliveries. I was good at it, but I didn't have a passion. And I think that goes back to what I was saying before. If you don't have a passion for something, eventually it just gets boring. And it's like, right, what now? And I thought to myself, could I see myself doing this for the rest of my life? And the answer's no. And thank God trading came along, because I'm hooked. So I'm kind of hoping that that's the thing that was meant to be.
Definitely. Or if you're comparing it to the bodybuilding, I think definitely it would be. And you talked about deviation from the plan, like in terms of your bodybuilding. Does that mindset for you translate to your trading as well?
Yeah, 100%. Don't get me wrong. Like mindset is a pivotal thing for anything in the world that you're trying to do. But I think with trading, I think it's even more important, because when I first started trading at the start, I genuinely believe that people stopped or gave up because they blew their accounts, lost a lot of money, and just couldn't do any more through financial issues. But I don't think that's the truth. I think the truth is the mind takes over, and the mindset cripples a lot of potentially good traders. And I don't think they give themselves enough time for it. And I think the mind takes over, and it's almost like it consumes their entire body. So what I wanted to do was, I wanted to give myself a good chance, and I wanted to relate whatever I was doing prior to trading, i.e. the bodybuilding side of things, and put that to trading. So structure when it comes to diet, for example, the structure was always there when it came to diet. So the structure in the morning for me, I always have to have structure when it comes to trading. So there's no difference. So whether it's structure with bodybuilding, structure with trading, structure is important. The discipline to make sure you go every day and show up. I show up at the charts every day. So yeah, there's absolutely correlations between the two. And I definitely utilize the mindset that I've had through bodybuilding, through trading, even though the mindset that I've got with trading has been a lot harder. It's been a lot more brutal. A lot more than I would have ever anticipated. And I never thought it'd be this hard, if I'm being honest with you, because I genuinely thought, do you know what? I've got a really good mindset. I'll smash this. Damn, was I wrong. Really, I was wrong. And I just want to say to people that are listening, it's like, you just can't give up with it. You can't think to yourself after 3 months, so it's not for me, or 2 months, it's not for me. You've got to keep going with it, because, all these people that talk about getting rich quick, it just doesn't happen. It's make-believe. It's just full of unicorns and pink elephants. It's just not realistic. And it's the same with bodybuilding. And I say this to people all the time. It's like, they always come to me for the advice. I give them the right advice, tell them what they need. They go for 2 or 3 weeks. Oh, John, it's not for me, this. Why? Well, I'm not seeing any change. Right, okay. What did you expect to see after 2 or 3 weeks? I said, you've got like 10 years worth of shit habits. What did you expect to change in about 2 or 3 weeks' time? And trading's no different. But I couldn't get that in my head. Like, I'm good at really giving that advice for bodybuilding, but I was like, man, why am I not making money after 2 or 3 weeks? Like, and I used to sit back and think, this was the same advice you give to people when it comes to going to the gym. why are you not taking your own advice and accepting that 2 or 3 weeks or 2 or 3 months after knowing nothing prior to it, where did you expect to be? And there was a lot of times where I used to crumble. And I remember that there was a very specific date, which was the 26th of May of this year. M7 rang me, which I was very shocked at, because he would never have done that before. Like, you got to think, like, there's 1,700 people in this academy, and he rang me to reset me, and it could have gone one or two ways for him. It could have been, right, he's going to push me over the edge, or he's going to absolutely reset me to the point where I am here, where I am today. And thankfully, it went that way. It went in the right direction. But I needed that chat because my mind was taking over. So all these things that I've given advice to people over the last sort of 10, 15 years when it comes to bodybuilding, and what mindset you need and what discipline you need. And don't expect anything to happen overnight. You know, you really need to work at it. You need to put your all in. I just wasn't paying attention to that. And I was not listening to my own voice. It was like an inner voice in my head was telling me the complete opposite. It was weird. Because that was the one thing that I thought that, you know, I'd be really good at is attributed that mindset to trading. And I am to a degree, but I'm not as well. It's weird. Sometimes that inner voice, that inner chimp, just absolutely demolishes me. And sometimes it can be like, I'm really shit at this. Like, yeah, I'm not good at this trading. But then I just sit back, take a breather, and then just like ignore whatever's going on in your head. It's not the truth. Because a lot of the time, limiting beliefs are made up, right? They're not even real. They're just stuff that we make up in our head. But I was allowing all that to take over, which was crazy, because I spent so many years doing the complete opposite when it came to training. So,
it shows, though it's the same in terms of what's required, in terms of that discipline, sticking to it and having the longer term vision, it doesn't always translate in our minds. No. You know? And we think differently, especially if, let's say, I think there's a different layer with trading because of the money aspect.
Yeah.
But was there anything specific M7 said to you on that call that really just stuck to you and made that little switch?
Yeah, and he's rang me a couple of times, and I have to say this because the guys is, you know, people only see what they want to see on Twitter. They only see what they want to see in social media, but the guy's got a heart of gold. He's a very, very good teacher. When it comes to mindset, there isn't anybody else I'd want to speak to, unless probably Louis, our performance coach now. Oh, I have to put that in. But he's very, very good at delivery and making you step back from what you think is happening to what is actually happening. And what he said to me was, he said, you need to stop chasing the R's and the R's will come. And that's always stuck with me. And what he means by that is stop focusing on the results and just focus on the performance. Because when you focus on the monetary aspect of it, it's going to really fuck with your emotions. And for us, and the way that the academy is set out, I would say 70-75% of it is mindset in terms of what we're taught and how to be a master of your own mind, how to be in that flow state of trading. And every other aspect of your life as well, because it's not just about trading. Trading's just a byproduct. Because the other things that we're taught when it comes to mind, it resonates with everything in your life. It gives you a better relationship with friends, better relationship with family, a better relationship with yourself. So yeah, one of the things we said was stop chasing those R's, and the R's will come. And that's always stuck with me. And up to then, recently, he said to me, if I was to ask you a question, and the question would be, do you trade to win or do you trade to not lose? And I had to think about that for a few minutes. And my answer was, well, obviously we trade to win. And he said, the answer should be neither. And I was like, right, okay. He said, well, think about it. If you trade to win and you don't win, how are you going to feel? You're going to feel shit. If you trade to not lose and you lose, how are you going to feel? You're going to feel shit. Focus on learning. Focus on your performance. Don't focus on the result. because if you focus on your performance and focus on results, if you focus on performance, the results will come. And that's what we're told week in, week out, week in, week out. And that's something that stuck with me because performance is very key to success, I think, as a trader, rather than focusing on what the result is.
Definitely. So like the parallel I would ask you is with the bodybuilding, for example, if you were focusing on the scale, the weight that's showing on the scales, it's, it has fluctuations because of different factors. So if you were just focused on that, you'd probably get not emotional, but you'd probably feel like shit when you put all this hard work in and you're up for that particular morning or day. Versus if you probably would just focus on your diet, right? Focus on your workouts, the reps, and the performance, which then gave the results. So is that parallel there, would you say?
Yeah, 100%. And I've said this to people before because that exact example, like they'll go to the gym for 4 weeks and it's like, John, I've not lost any weight. Oh, I'm not going anymore. It's not for me, this. It's not working. I must be the only person in the world that is not able to lose weight when I go to the gym. I'm like, man, come on, seriously? But yeah, it's the same. Like, do I go to the gym last week to do arms and have my arms grown in an inch in a week? No. Have I been back since? Yeah. Well, why? Because surely if you've been to the gym and your arms haven't grown, you'd be disappointed with that, surely. Because you've had no result from it. Well, there's no difference with trading. It's exactly the same. Just because you don't see the results in that moment doesn't mean that you're not progressing. And I think that's the key takeaway from that is that's why you need to focus on the performance. So for me, the structure of that is when I enter a trade, have I entered it in the correct way? Is my stop loss in a good place? Am I managing the trade correctly? Have I set my target to my rules? Have I stuck to my rules? Have all these things ticked? And if the answer is yes, and price hasn't worked out and it's not gone in my favour, so what? What's going to happen? Nothing. Whereas if I don't stick to my rules and I enter because of fear of missing out, or I enter late because I just want to enter a trade, that's the time to be pissed off because you've not stuck to your performance, you've not stuck to your rule sets. But if you stick to everything that you're meant to stick to and you focus on solely your performance, then nothing else matters. It shouldn't matter. Because just because Twistz, John, whatever, enters the market's not going to go, oh, John from Manchester's just entered the trade. Let's make sure this guy wins. And when it doesn't, what do I expect? It's like it doesn't work like that. Whatever's happening in the market is something that we can't control. But we can control our emotions and we can control our performance. Those are the two things we can control. Everything else, it's just like trying to control the weather. It's just impossible. But people still get emotional over that, don't they?
They do, especially here. That's like our big talking point. Our chit chat in the UK is always the weather. And I do it all the time accidentally. I'll be like, oh, the UK doing its thing with the weather again. And then I catch myself and I'm like, why am I always talking about the weather with people? It's so weird. But you're 100% right. What we control is what we should focus on. And it's so easy, I think, especially with, the Twitter sphere and the social media aspect and everyone going at each other all the time as well. And yet, again, none of those things are in our control. If so-and-so trades this way or has this opinion. But instead, if most people focused on what they can control, their results will start to reflect, probably in a more positive manner. One thing you did say earlier in regards to people quitting too early, would you say, though, the people who lack the passion for trading itself, the skill set itself, do you think they would be the right sort of people to quit early so that they're not putting themselves into a journey that is probably not going to work out for them because they lack that passion for the skill set itself? Let's take a break for a minute there, guys, because I want to tell you about the best trading tool on the market, TradeZella. The reason why TradeZella is the #1 trading tool that every trader needs is because you can do backtesting, automated journaling, trade replay, in-depth analytics, and so much more. And the greatest part about TradeZella is that it's all automated. All you have to do is connect your MT4 and MT5. It will pull all your data onto the dashboard. You can add playbooks. You can just add notes. You can add images from your trades, and you can get the insights that is necessary for you to progress as a trader. Now, TradeZella is for absolutely everyone. Whether you're a crypto trader, whether you're a Forex trader, whether you trade prop firms, it is for absolutely everyone. And that is why thousands of traders have signed up using my link here through the podcast. Make sure you use the code RIZ10 for 10% off your monthly subscription, or WOR for 20% off your yearly subscription. The link is in the description below. And let's get back to the episode.
Yeah, I do, yeah. But at the same time, I think sometimes you've got to put a little bit of work in to see whether you've got that passion or not. And I think sometimes passion can come later on. Because I know people that have started the gym that didn't really like it at the start, but when they started to see that those small incremental changes, the passion then became prevalent. It then became known. And I think that could be the same with trading. I think because it's so hard, and it is hard. And if it was easy, everyone would be doing it, because I think I heard someone say trading is the most easiest thing in the world if you're good at it. And it is. But I don't think people give themselves enough time to see whether they've got that passion or not. And they just think, oh, it's too hard, this, and just give up. And that's a shame, because I think people's dreams die too early. And that's one thing I'm very, very good at, is putting my all into something, and I mean absolutely everything into it, to see whether I've got a passion for it first before I give up. And like my girlfriend jokes about it all the time, because she says it's a skill and you don't even realize it's a skill, because you do things that 99% of people won't want to do, because that's just how you are. And it's true. Like, I'll quite happily spend 10, 12 hours back testing and not bat an eyelid. You know, if M7 says to do something, I'll do it, and I'll not be bothered by it. I'll not moan about it. I'll just get on with it. Whereas a lot of people will see that as really? I've got to do that?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. It's the same with people when you talk about diet. It's like, right, this is what you need to do, because you're telling me you want to lose weight. You told me what your diet is. It's horrific. Change it and eat this, and look at it. Oh, really? Well, can I not just do this instead? Can I not just do this instead and eat that? And I'm like, if you could, I would have put that on. And it's the same with trading. If M7 tells us to do something, it's because he wants you to do it in that way. And I think if we're paying for somebody to be in an academy, why would you do it any other way? And it's the same with having a coach, or it's the same with, you know, paying someone to be a personal trainer. You're paying for that service. Why would you do it any other way? It makes no sense.
Man, the amount I see that all the time it's insane. Like, what are your thoughts when people are doing that? Especially, let's go just basics, right? They're paying for something, but they're not using it at all.
Do you want my honest opinion?
Of course.
Weak. They're just weak. Weak-minded, not strong enough to take on that challenge, and just content with just carrying on being miserable. And that's hard to see with some people, because sometimes you can see real potential in some people, and when they don't show it because of that lack of hard work or lack of discipline or whatever. You just think, man, like, seriously, are you that weak? And it's just hard to see sometimes. And I'll tell you something as well, like prior to M7 and prior to this academy, I used to get really wound up by people I didn't even know, especially on social media. Like, they'd say something on social media and I think, what a dick. And I'd retaliate, and I'd retaliate to people I don't even know. And consciously, I knew I was doing it, but I weren't asked, because I thought, well, that's the right thing to do. You've pissed me off, or you've said something that makes no sense, or you spoke about, oh, I've been to the gym, it's not worked. Now I'm going on this crash diet of just drinking liquid shit for the rest of the month or whatever. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I used to find myself retaliating to these people, or chirping up, or having an opinion on it. And 99% of the time, it made absolutely no value to my life at all. And one good thing that M7 has taught me over the last 6 to 7 months is how to stay in your own lane. And just concentrate on you and not be interested in what others are doing.
Yeah.
And just have a different outlook on the life, on the world. Because there was one point where I was just very angry all the time. Just very angry with people. People used to piss me off. Like if someone cut me up in traffic, that just ruined me for the rest of the day. Because I'd be thinking for the rest of the day, right, I wonder where this guy is. I wonder where he lives. I wonder if I came across him again, what would I do? Like, and I'd just be thinking for hours and hours and hours. Like, but why? What's the point? Whereas now, and this is genuine, someone cuts me, I'm like, yeah, whatever. Not bothered. Because it doesn't serve me to be angry. It's like, how is him cutting me up going to change how the day is going to pan out? It's not. It's just I'm controlling that. So if I can either be really pissed off with it or just let it go. And that's the same now with social media. If someone says something, I'm like, yeah, whatever. They're not hurting anyone, so they're happy doing it. Crack on. It's good. So if anything, if trading doesn't work out for me, the one thing I will say is that my mind has been completely radicalized into positivity in the way that I outlook on things and stuff I can't control, especially. So.
Definitely. And I think that there's a lot of power in that. A lot.
Yeah.
Because even if you're not a trader or even trying to be, say, successful in the traditional sense, having that level of a balance and calmness to your day-to-day, it changes everything.
Yeah.
Your whole reality of life is completely different then. Because like you said, I used to be that person as well, get caught up in traffic. I think everyone, to a degree, is in that side because no one teaches you any different.
No.
There is no education throughout your especially when you're going through school, college, university, or anything like that, or in the workplace that is telling you, this is how you be a balanced individual. This is how you can be a balanced person and navigate your way day to day in a much more calm perspective and enjoyable perspective.
Yeah.
While trading, I believe, there's a lot more education on that front because you need that to be a trader.
Yeah.
You need to be able to be calm in these chaotic situations to be able to still think clearly and operate at the highest level. Yeah. So it's really great to hear. No, really great to hear. And, I think, was there anything in particular that helped you to sort of have that shift? Obviously, M7, giving advice, etc. Was there anything separate to that?
Meditation. One thing I used to laugh at when people used to do it, I used to think, what are you doing? Like sitting there, like humming away or listening to what I assumed was just utter bollocks on their iPhone because all you could hear was chimes or someone talking in a robotic voice. I don't know whether you listen to Joe Dispenza, but his podcast, his meditations are very bizarre. They're very spacey-like, very robotic. I just used to take the piss out of people thinking, I don't need to do that. Like, I'm a confident guy. I'm not arrogant, but I'm confident. I go to the gym. I'm alpha. I don't need to do any of that meditation. It's a load of shit. Why was I wrong? M7 just said, listen, just do it. Don't think, I know it's uncomfortable, but just do it. And it was uncomfortable at the start. Like, I'd be sat there and my body used to just want to get up after 30 seconds, but I used to fight it. I used to think, no, just sit there. Don't let your body take control. Let your mind continue to do what it's doing. And then I gradually built from 10, 15 to 20 to 30 to 35, just increments of 5 minutes to the point now where I can do 45. And I would say to anybody, don't underestimate the power of meditation because if you think it's all airy-fairy and it doesn't serve a purpose in life, you're wrong. It's absolutely one powerful thing to do. It really is. And that has helped me well. That has really served a great purpose in this journey so far, is being able to let my mind go and be open to doing other things that I wouldn't normally do. It's almost like being you got to get uncomfortable first before you're comfortable.
Yes.
And that's the same with anything. Yeah. And meditation was no different.
Well, it's interesting you say, because like you said, you were someone who didn't believe in it at all.
No.
So it's really good to hear you say. And how's that been for you? Have you had other moments like that? Accepting something like a change in perspective?
Yeah, so affirmations are another thing that I like to do now. Again, something I would never even think about. So like daily affirmations and daily gratification. So when things aren't going my way per se, just step back and think, well, actually, what have you got to be grateful for? And I'm talking about really, really silly things that people will think of. So when I'm walking into my apartment and I flick the lights on, I'm grateful that I've got electricity. You know, when I turn a tap on and I put water into a glass, I'm grateful that I've got water. When I'm lying in my bed at night, I'm grateful that I've got a comfy bed to sleep in. When I turn the heating on, I'm grateful that I've got heating and I can be warm. I'm grateful that I've got 4 walls to be safe in. There's all these things that I just never used to think about prior to trading. And when you start to think about all these things that you're grateful for in life, all the things that piss you off prior to that are meaningless. They mean nothing. Because there's a lot of people in the world that can't just turn on electricity. There are a lot of people that just don't have drinking water. There are a lot of people that don't have 4 walls to keep them safe. And that's a real sad part of life. But when you can be grateful for stuff and not sweat the small things anymore, it makes a huge impact on your life, because you think, why was I so arsed about that? Like, literally, what have I got around me? So, you know?
I think it's very powerful. You know, I mean, it's so easy for us to forget of, yes, we all have issues, we all have problems, right? And at different scales and different levels. But it's so easy to forget what we do have, even when we're going through those issues, problems. And I think, like you said, affirmations are a great way to remind yourself that, okay, I'm going through this right now, but I've got all of this.
Correct.
You know, and this is actually keeping me going every day. You know, so powerful. And in terms of meditation, is there anything that helped you? You know, as you said, you scaled it.
Yeah.
But was there anything for those out there who may want to try it or go through a similar process to you? Was there anything like guided meditation, anything along the lines that helped you to do it?
Yeah. So originally, I invested in a Muse. So a Muse is it's like a headband that you put on your head. You can have guided meditations, or you can just have the opposite to that. And for me, it was like taking the same principles as when you go to the gym. You're not going to go in and start lifting the heaviest weights. You're going to increment the weights week by week, month by month. So that was the approach I took. I thought, there's no point going in doing a full hour, because I already know I'm not comfortable sat here for an hour. So I needed to do something that was achievable and wouldn't be overwhelming at the start. So I thought 5 minutes was a good starting point, and just building that up every other day. So every other day or every other week, and just build it up incrementally over time. I wouldn't necessarily say the Muse is the right thing to go and buy, because they're like 300 quid. There's so much free content on YouTube, so many free content on Spotify. You just put in meditation and there's an abundance of it. There's shitloads of stuff you can choose from. But I would say to anybody that wanted to start it is just start off small, and don't go hell for leather straight away, and just build up to it and just see the benefits in it. Because I was talking to M7 about this the other week, and I start to see things now in my meditation that just blows my mind. I was talking to him the other week, and I got transported back into my primary school, where I was 4 or 5 years old, 6 years old at the most. But I could remember intricate details of the classroom. I could remember the teacher, the way she looked. I could remember the layout of the classroom. I could remember specific days of when I was in the school, things I've never thought about for the last 34 years. Not been in primary school for that amount of time, 34 years ago. And I found that really, really odd. And M7 said that is the power of meditation. It's bringing out that love and that heart side, because obviously it was a good time in your life. And I was like, well, yeah, it was amazing. It was one of the most amazing times, because I was surrounded by all my family, like, you know, and it was good memories. And he said, that's the reason why you're tapping into that memory bank of love that you've almost in your mind consciously forgotten about.
Yeah, it's just in the subconscious.
But I found it amazing. And yes, we all have memories. I get that. But these were really detailed memories. These were detailed days. Like, I remember a specific, we had like a a games day every month. And I remember a specific games day, and the game I brought in, I remember what I was wearing, where the classroom was situated, what the view was like. It was almost like I was looking down on myself in a third person.
Yeah.
Looking down, it was the most peculiar thing I've ever come across. And since then, other memories have started to surface, like really peculiar memories, like being in high school and reading a particular book. I'd forgotten all about this bloody book, and it's like, wow. But that's just the power of meditation, and I don't know what it means just yet. I'll be honest with you. I don't know what the meaning of these memories are, but there's only one thing I've ever changed, and that's introducing meditation.
Yeah.
I've not done anything else, and now all these memories come flooding back when I start to meditate. It's crazy.
It's incredible. And where do you sort of put the meditation in as part of your schedule?
So I do morning and night. So I always have a morning structure. Every morning is the same. I'll wake up same time every day. I'll hydrate first thing in the morning. Coconut water, taurine, cranberry extract, pink salt, a litre of water. Then I'll do breath work and meditation. Then my prep starts for the charts for London session. Then after that is always before bed. So at night time. So I'll be lying in bed, stick a meditation on. 99% of the time I'll fall asleep, and it'll be the best sleep I've ever had. So I'll do it first thing in the morning at night time.
Perfect. And during your day, in terms of your schedule and routine, is there other things that kind of affect your day, like commitments or anything like that?
No, I'm very fortunate that my partner, she's very supportive. She's never let trading get in the way of anything. She knows the potential of where it can take us. She knows what's needed to be done for the first, minimum of a year. Because I sat down with her and I said, listen, this is what's going to happen for the next 6 to 12 months, maybe. It's going to be a lot of work, a lot of late nights, potentially not being able to attend family events, but I'm doing it for us to have a better life. So it's almost like short-term sacrifice now for an easier life later. That's how I pitched it to her. And bless her, she's been great. Like, she literally is my rock. When it comes to, if I'm feeling those negative thoughts, she brings me back down to earth.
Yeah.
If I'm slacking on any element, she's like, right, come on, let's get this sorted. So when it comes to anything constraint-wise, I'm very fortunate that I don't have any, because obviously I don't work anymore, so full-time student. But I don't class myself as a trader, I'll be honest with you. I'm a risk manager at best, and I'm more a student. Like, I'm not arrogant to say that I'm a trader, because I think anyone coming into this market only 6 months in is wrong to say that. And I genuinely am not at that level yet where I think I can class myself as a trader. So student, but at best, I'm a risk manager. And that's, if anyone asks me what I do, that's what I do. I manage risk.
It's probably much easier to explain than anything else.
Yeah, because I don't think I've got the kudos yet to be at that level, or I don't think I've got the right experience to say that that's what I am. So, but I'm fortunate because I can do it full time. So I don't have any constraints. Going back to your original question, because we were veering off there a little bit. Sorry.
That's all good. It's all good. No, I love the journey so far. It's absolutely incredible, and I already know that people are going to be taking away so much from this, and I'm excited to see the comments and the feedback. But one thing I do want to ask you, which is, you can tell a very huge difference in like how we started the podcast.
Yeah.
Right. And then the mindset that you develop now.
Yeah.
Does it ever sort of take you by surprise? Obviously, the huge difference from obviously being at extreme lows to now having such an insightful mind. Yeah. Being able to control your mind to a degree, or at least be in tune with your mind.
Yeah, I think so, because I think no matter what, I've got to look at it and think, I'm 41 now. I'm old. And I've been this way prior to trading for as long as I can remember. So for me, it was almost like that was ingrained. So it was accepting that I could change. So when I look back at it now, I'm like, it does amaze me how much I've changed, because I think when you hit a certain age, prior to this, I used to think, well, you can't change your mindset. Your mindset's fixed. If you're that way and you've been that way for so long, surely there's nothing that can ever change you. But I sat back and think, well, actually, no, that's wrong, because if somebody's had 30 years worth of bad habits when it comes to food and exercise, they can still change. So why can't the mind change? But I'm still blown away by it, because my mental health was very bad. The hygiene for it was horrendous, if you want to call it mental hygiene. It was awful, because I never used to think at the time I had a problem with it, up until sort of obviously last year when it affected me quite badly, and it all came like at once.
Yeah.
It was like a nuclear explosion. It was like a build up of pressure, and then all of a sudden it just blew up. And that could have been, that could have gone seriously wrong, because it was almost like I used to bury a lot of my thoughts. I used to bury a lot of my problems. I used to think that they weren't there, imagine that they were not there to a degree. But it's like a pressure cooker, I think. There's only so much you can take before it blows. And it's taken nearly 40 years for that to happen. So yeah, when I look back now, I think I have come a long way, but there's a long way to still go. Don't get me wrong. Still have dark moments, still have bad thoughts, not of wanting to kill myself or be in that position, but I still have bad thoughts when it comes to trading, i.e., oh, I'm not good at this. I'm shit at this. But where they would used to last for days, and then they would used to last for hours, they're now lasting for minutes. So it's improving every day. So as long as I can get better by, even if it's 1% every day, I'm winning. I'm succeeding, and I'm getting better at it. Because something like your mind can't be fixed overnight. It's like the whole saying of getting rich quick.
Yeah.
You can't get a rich mind quick. If you're so used to these bad habits for such a long time. You've got to just continually exercise your mind like you would your muscles. It's no different. It's absolutely no different. If anything, it's worse, because the mind is a lot harder to either control or improve and get better, stronger, and it takes a lot more time.
Definitely. And I think you're a testament of, if with the right dedication, it can be done. I don't want to say quickly, because even in that time, that's a nice chunk of time that had taken place, over a year, coming up to 18 months. But even then, that for some people out there who may be struggling, they can hopefully see that, with the right intention and right action, and dedication, you can see that change and grow day by day, as you said. So it's not like it's gone, and there's no bad moments ever again, but it's being able to reduce them, control them, observe them in a much better fashion. And it's incredible to hear. And there was something there in my mind just then that has tried to slip away from me. I'm going to try and bring it back. Oh, there we go. It came back. So the way I haven't thought this for a while, but I remember I used to think this back in the day. And the way that our mind is, it's like, or when we're not trying to change and we're just in our usual ways, it's as if our decisions are almost ingrained in us already, right? And the way that we do is like mundane. It's like the repetition. And it's kind of like snow. When you have snow and it's fresh, right? But then tracks have been made. Everything falls into those tracks naturally because they're there, they're formed. And so naturally anything that comes along will fall into those same tracks and follow the path. Well, when you do the reset, as you've done this period, you essentially had fresh snow and you've created new pathways. And that's the analogy I've always liked to use. I used to think that back in the day, because I had a period in my life when there's a couple months where I was doing similar. It was like a pressure cooker, right? Like, as you said, it was like boiling up. And then it came to a moment where I had to change. And what was it like for yourself, obviously, having that shift? Was it a shift where you changed it in the mindset and from that day forward things had changed, or was it more of a gradual process?
Are we talking from coming out of hospital in April?
Yeah, so maybe even during the hospital trip as well.
I just thought that enough's enough. I thought if I don't do something, I'm not going to be here anymore. But at the same time, I still wanted to be here. So that's quite weird in itself.
Yeah.
But I knew that if I didn't sort it out and if I didn't change it and I didn't take that leap of faith, I'm just going to be miserable for the rest of my life, because there's always been something inside me, regardless of whatever work I've ever done. I've always got bored with it eventually, because I've always thought I'm better than where I am. And that doesn't mean that anybody that does 9 to 5s is wrong or I'm looking down on them. I meant for me personally, you know, there's nothing wrong with the 9 to 5, but for me, there always was, because I always thought there's something destined bigger and better for you than doing this, than sitting in the matrix, as we call it. I mean, I don't use that term, but the 9 to 5, you know, asking permission to go on holiday, asking permission to come in later if you want to, or leave early if you want to, and being capped on your payments every month. Yes, you could have promotions, but how far does that go? You know, how far does that really go? And I always thought there was something better for me, but I didn't know what it was. And I think that really, really annoyed me. I think that really got to me mental-wise, because I'd always try stuff, but then I'd always shit out of it and go back to the convenience, go back to work. Because I think as humans, that's what we're geared for. We're geared to take the least path of resistance and do what's comfortable, do what we know. No one likes the unknown. Trading's the unknown. Like, I don't know whether I'm going to be a full-time trader. I have no idea. And nobody likes to do that. It's whereas if you go back to work, you know at the end of the month you're going to get paid.
Yeah.
It's comfort. It's nice. It's easy. And every time I went back, a little bit of my soul used to just be taken away. And every time I used to go to another job, a little bit of my soul used to get taken away. And then I just thought, oh, enough's enough of this. I can't do this anymore. I just need to just go. And I think the not wanting to be here anymore was the pivotal point of knowing that I needed to do something different. And that was the turning point. That was the turning, because it would have gone either one or two ways. Yeah. So for me, that was the turning point of knowing that, yes, I know that I can do something, but I don't quite know what it is. But I know that I can be that person. I just don't know what right now or how I'm going to do it. Yeah. But I know there's something out there, and I'm going to try my damnedest to find it. Definitely. And I don't want to go back to comfort. I don't want to go back to the easy getting a paycheck at the end of the month. It's not for me anymore, because it's got to be so. The world's massive. The world's huge. Surely I'm not destined to sit in a showroom for the rest of my life. Come on, seriously. So that was
the motivation.
Yeah,
the
but
change.
it's taken like I've been working like 20 odd years now. It's taken 20 years for me to do that. There's always been times, Riz, where I thought, right, I'm leaving now. I'm doing it. I've never done it. I've just gone back to it because it's easy. Because I've thought, oh, no. Because what am I going to do? I'm not going to get paid. I'm not going to have money. I'm not going to have this. I'm not going to have that. And I've always taken the easy option when it comes to work. But something this time, and I genuinely don't know what it was. The only thing I can think is how low it got me. Yeah. And I thought that's not worth any job. That.
Well, there's a saying that says the bottom is where the start is. You know, and I truly believe in that. I feel like pivotal moments come down to those sort of things where you're at your lowest, where you're at the darkest of times. Yeah. There's another saying where it's like the night is darkest before the dawn.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it's a good saying.
And you know, I always revert back to those things, because even when you're not going through the hardest of times, you're just going through regular stress. You know, some things are overwhelming, a lot of things happening at once, a lot of moving parts. Yeah. I try to remind myself the same thing, because it's like, okay, after this, as long as you stay dedicated, consistent, you keep pushing forward, the blessings will come. Yeah. There's always going to be balance, right? And to think that even as because a lot of people, I believe, when they think of success, they create a fantasy in their mind. Yeah. They think, when I'm successful, so when I have money, that's it. Life is just perfect.
Yeah, and it's not.
Exactly. There's no challenges. That's what they've assumed. They go, there's no challenges, there's no hardship. Yeah. I've made it. But the reality is that with your level of success, your hardship will match the level. Yeah. Your ability to handle it, if you've done things correctly and you haven't created that fantasy, will be higher.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's just interesting that, again, though, the only reason I know that is from the experiences of the losses, though. Before that, I had that fantasy.
Yeah.
I remember when I had my first big payout from trading, that was my fantasy still.
Yeah.
But then when the payout came and hit my bank account, nothing changed.
Yeah. What now?
Yeah. Like literally nothing changed. Still had the bills to pay. Still had a crying baby at home to change the nappy. Nothing had changed.
Yeah.
And that was a big realization. And it was so important to, I think, experience that. But then I remember there was a period though when I had to find that though. I had to find the realization. It wasn't like I just knew it. Oh, this is it.
Yeah, because we don't.
Yeah.
You don't know it.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that's part of the journey.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that comes, it comes later on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something we find out, and it's just part of that process.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes it wonderful.
Yeah.
It makes the journey wonderful because some people fear the unknown and some people embrace it. And I think embracing the unknown can be really good as well.
Yeah.
As well as the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, sometimes the unknown does kick in where you think, where am I going to be in 12 months?
Mm-hmm.
Am I going to be in a position where I've got, money in the bank to live on? Am I going to be in a position where I can get my partner and her 2 boys out of the house that she's in into a bigger house for us all to live in? Because these are the things that drive me. Because at one point it was just about me.
Mm-hmm.
It was I had no one else to think about. Whereas now, suddenly that why has become a lot more important.
Mm-hmm.
How I'm going to do it, I don't know, but the why is bigger than the how.
Yeah.
So for me, that makes it, the unknown, sometimes positive, but sometimes a negative as well.
Of course.
I do embrace the unknown because I think when you're working, for example, you know what you're going to be doing.
Yeah.
You know every day where you're going. You know every month what you're going to earn.
Mm-hmm.
You know every year how many holidays you're going to have.
Mm-hmm.
So that's cool. But I don't know if I'm going to be a millionaire.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's fucking exciting.
Yeah.
Potentially that I could be.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I knew that I would never be a millionaire working in a job. So that's where that 99, that's where that 100% and that 1% come in.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew 100% that I was never going to be a millionaire.
Yeah.
Whereas now there's at least a 1% chance I'll take it and I'll see where it takes me. And that's where that unknown becomes very exciting.
And on top of what you just said there as well, is like COVID taught us one thing as well. Is that we know the paychecks there, we know how many holidays, but we don't know when they say goodbye.
Yeah, exactly.
When they say we can't, we can't pay you this month, or the job's no longer available.
Yeah.
So taking those matters into your own hands, though scary, it's a very powerful thing.
Yeah.
And again, like you said, it's a personal thing as
Yeah.
well. Like not everyone is meant to do that. Not everyone wants to do that.
No,
That's
and
absolutely
cool.
fine.
Yeah, that's cool.
One thing I did want to ask you is similar to like the meditation circumstance for you, because this was me when I went through my period of like darkness and depression. I before that point had and I was very young though at the time as well, so you could say naivety, but I think I would have held that until I experienced it.
Yeah.
But I had the thought that anyone who says about committing suicide, I thought they were weak people.
Yeah.
I thought they were weak people. They were giving up, right? But then when I experienced it and I had those thoughts, then I realized it's literally not even desperation. I don't have a word for it, but it's like they're the thoughts. They're dominating the mind. They're taking over.
Yeah.
And so I learned firsthand how naive I was and how silly I was. But what was your thoughts before that point? Because you're someone, if let's say that people are looking at you, they would say, like you said earlier, like alpha.
Yeah.
This guy's not going to have problems. This guy's not going to
Yeah,
experience these things.
And that was the perception. I mean, before I came off Instagram, at one point, one of my Instagram accounts had over 30,000 followers on it. I don't know why. I think it was just because I used to post bodybuilding pictures, but there was that expectation. There was that the guy's covered in tattoos. He's got that. It's almost like that dickhead starter pack look. The beard, the muscles, the tattoos. It's almost like, that guy's going to be a dickhead. But what comes with that is the perception that you have no problems. Life's perfect. And it was almost like you're trying to live up to that expectation. And then that expectation transpired into my own personal life. If I had problems, I wouldn't let it bother me. I'd just shun them away and I'd just forget about them because, that was the perception that people had. And if you were talking about anyone that, was in that period of time where suicide was the only way out, I could never understand that. I wouldn't say it was weak. because I've experienced a best friend of mine who lost his dad when we were 18. We were best friends, and he found his own dad in the woods, which is probably the worst thing you could ever experience for anybody, to experience their own father in that position. So being so close to him and being so close to his dad, I always could resonate to that part of how somebody would be in the position to take their life. So I would never say it was a weakness, because one, I never understood it, but equally not understanding it, I couldn't understand how somebody could get to that point of desperation. Like, seriously, what would drive someone that far to just not wanting to be here anymore? And I could never understand it, ever, until it happens to you. And then you think, okay, now that makes sense. And for me, it was just the voice in my was just never stop. It was 24/7. It was from the moment I woke up to the moment I went to sleep. And sometimes I wouldn't even sleep. I just was like, oh man, this is just too much. And then over a period of time, it just grinds you down, and keeps on going. And so now I understand why people get to that stage. So I'd never attribute it to weakness. I think it's more of a desperation to be with peace, because the noise is too much.
That's good. Yeah, that's the best way to explain it, I think. Yeah, because it's overbearing, isn't it? Every day, and as you say, like, it can affect your sleep.
Yeah.
And then, or not only your sleep though, but then everything else in your life.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a weird thing to say. I don't know how you feel, but like, I'm grateful I went through it now, because I have that experience.
Yeah.
I can resonate now.
Yeah.
With anyone who goes through it.
Yeah.
And now I can understand why people would take their life.
Yeah.
While before that, it's easy to now look back and say, what an idiot to be able to say such things. I would say it to my mum.
Yeah.
I'd say, like, yeah, these people are weak. My mum probably understands it though, because she's been through and experienced a lot of hardship. She's witnessed, firsthand, really dark things, very similar to your friend's story there. So she will understand it.
Yeah.
But me being, and it's very interesting to think back as well. Like, my mum probably knew you can't really explain this to someone like this. They have to wait.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful now to go through that, to be able to understand.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if I could take it back and not be in that position, then of course that would be the preference, because it was pretty shitty. But do I look at it as poor me now? Do I look at it as, like, poor John? No, I look at it as a learning experience, and I look at it as something that's taught me a bigger picture of life, and it's taught me how to appreciate life more, and how not to get to that stage again of having those thoughts. But it's certainly enabled me to then understand how others are potentially feeling, because you just never know what's going on behind closed doors, and you never know that. I mean, social media is the worst for it, isn't it? When you think about the comments that people make on social media, you don't know whether that one comment is just going to tip that person over the edge. That would be the last comment that just absolutely does them in. So for me, it's enabled me to take a step back and think, just don't be judgy of people all the time. Just let them live the life, because you just never know what's going on behind closed doors. Because a lot of the time, especially with us blokes, we don't talk about it. For people that are looking at me, they'll probably think that, like you said, this guy doesn't have any problems. Well, that's far from the truth. So you never know just what your comment might make to someone, or how it, might just push them over the edge as such. Yeah. So it's taught me how to just be more appreciative of people, and more understanding of life and what it can potentially throw at people. Yeah. And just not be as quick to go in and be more understanding as such. So yeah, it's taught me a lot. I mean, but yeah, I'd love to take it back if I could, and not be in that position.
Of course, of course.
If I'm taking anything from it, it's a learning experience, of course. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. No, definitely. And it must be strange though, like obviously with your prior jobs, I would imagine obviously you would talk to a lot of people through the job. Yeah. But I would imagine it would be pretty much local to the branch, and then maybe even to people within the area, maybe nationwide. Yep. Obviously, stepping into the trading realm, the whole world opens up
Yeah.
to the connections. I can imagine in the academy, it's probably got a very diverse, set of traders.
Yeah.
How's that been for you then? Now that's sort of taking a step into such a wide open field and network.
It's overwhelming, but it's also cool as well, because you can see other walks of life, and it's almost like opening your eyes up to what's around in the world. Because I think when you're in a job like I was, you're in like a goldfish bowl, and it's almost like you can't see what's going on outside of that world. Whereas now it's like the connections that I've made, the friends that I've made, the invites to countries to stay at people's houses that have happened, being here today. It's absolutely overwhelming, but it also shows you that no matter what walk of life you're in, there's always the same people that still have that same negative outlook on life. Because I don't think whether it's the gym, fitness, working life, family, trading's no different, and you still have those people that still don't stay in the lane. So if it's taught me anything, it's taught me that people are the same no matter what industry they're in. But there's also a lot of good people as well. But yeah, I mean, especially with like, the one thing I found with trading is everyone seems to be, not everyone, sorry, a large majority of people, if they don't understand your concepts and don't understand how you're trading, you're doing it incorrect. Yeah. You're a shitbag. You don't know what you're talking about. You're fake. Whatever you post on Twitter's photoshopped. It's almost like you can't do anything right. If I posted a trade on TradingView, you're fake. It's not real, that. So I then post my receipts. Oh, it's photoshopped. It's not real. It's like, man, what do I need to do? Do I need to invite you down to my house so you can stand over me to see me executing these trades? Like, what needs to happen? So I think you find that no matter what walk of life you're in, there's always these same people. But trading seems to have these real cult-like. It's like a cult when it comes to how people perceive their trading style versus your trading style. It's like, if you're not part of our gang, you're not doing it right. And it's weird. I find that really odd, because if you're making profit doing support and resistance, and someone else is doing profit based on EMAs, and someone else is doing profit based on ICT, and I'm making profit on DR, does it matter? Like, who gives a shit? Like, we're all making money. Be happy for everyone. But yeah, there's that mentality that they're just not happy if they're not doing the same thing as them. And that's like, yeah, it's opened my eyes up to see that the trading space is full of that. It is absolutely rife with people that just don't seem to want to stay in their own lane and aren't happy for you if you're not doing something that they don't understand. And I think that's the issue. I think they don't understand, because masters concepts, you can pull some serious money in off one trade. And I see living proof of that every single day in the Discord channel, every single day, of people making some serious money. Last week, one of the top students did 24.5 grand in one afternoon. On the Friday, RDR, ES, 24 grand in one afternoon. It's bollocks, it's not real. It is real. Like, why would we lie about this? Like, I believe how I am is full transparency. Absolutely. If I lose, there'll be a trade posted. If I win, trade posted. If it's break even, trade posted. If I'm happy, I'll post about it. If I'm sad, I'll post it. Everything is there. It's transparent. It's not handpicked. It's all there for people to see. So if I see someone doing 24 grand, I'm happy for them. I'll post about it. But you always get these people that, nah, it's not real, that. It's fake. It's not right.
That's it. I've learned this along the way as well. Is like, you can never make people happy, no matter what you do.
No.
Even if, let's say, for example, you went to the full extent of getting an auditor to audit like your accounts and everything, they'll turn around and say, you know that guy.
Yeah.
You paid him to do that. And so there is no winning.
So right? No, I'm not bothered. I'm not bothered. If someone doesn't want to believe, I couldn't care 100%. Less. I'm not asked. And for us in the academy, I think a lot of it is because it's so new to a degree. Some people say it's old ICT concepts, DR, defining range, because he used standard deviation lines. So to a point, I get it, but when you delve into the academy, 90% of what we do is statistics. It's data-backed probabilities. It's not possibilities of this possibly might happen. It's a probability that this is going to happen, and we're stacking probabilities using data. We use a powerful data system called Lens, which gives us ideas of retracements, when they're going to happen at what time, and what we can expect extensions to be on certain assets. So we can plan our trades based on these probabilities of the last 20 years worth of statistical data. It's a very powerful tool. We are in the process at the moment, or the team is in the process at the moment, of creating something called Prism. I think when this airs, it'll be out. But if you think of Lens as a Honda Civic, a new Honda Civic, it's good, it's robust, it does a job. It gets you from A to B. Prism is going to be that Ferrari F35 Spider. It's the next level. It's going to really, really drill into data. We're talking like minutes by the minute, rather than 15-minute candles. We're talking minute by minute. The data is going to be absolutely insane for what we can extract from it. So whilst I understand older concepts of M7 stuff and what he does on his YouTube videos are very standard deviation lines, defining range, cool, fine. Argument to say that potentially is it ICT stuff? Okay, but not when it comes to data. And there's so much more to it. There's so much more to it. And I think that's what people don't get. And I think that's why people still don't believe. And I think the other element as well is we spoke about this before we started, that M7 doesn't show his face. We don't know his real name. So I think there's an element of that as well. I think there's an element of trust from people outside the academy that don't trust what he's doing. But for me, you've just got to be in there to see. Yeah,
well, I've been on, luckily, I'd never come across him. I remember starting to see some of the thumbnails, and I assumed the person on the thumbnail was him.
Everyone does.
I know, I bet they do. Because I was literally like, oh, he looks cool, this is him, cool. And then he's managed to match, I don't know, well, that might be us, the human brain, being like, the voice matches the picture. But yeah, I started to see, the thumbnails come up on Twitter, on the feed. I was like, cool. And then I remember being in one of Kit's spaces. And then he was there, he was speaking. And then luckily I've been in a handful now where we were guest speakers and just listening as a listener myself to him speaking. And you can tell from just the way he speaks, very similar to ICT in the sense that when you hear ICT speak, and I only, again, thanks to Kit Spaces, heard him speak more recently. But you can tell the experience. You can tell the knowledge just from that. And I feel like that's always the best gauge, because when 100%. Someone is a marketer, just a marketer, or they're faking something, listen to their words. Don't look at the video. Don't look at anything else, not even the results or anything. Look at the words and the depth of the words. And you'll find some fugazi for the marketers, but you'll see some real experience and knowledge. And I've gained that from M7 and, again, ICT as well. But yeah, it's very interesting,
I think
the title, The Master, I wanted to just quickly ask you that. Because how do you feel about that? Like, I didn't know that was a title that was being used. I didn't know that was a sort of, what would be like a call sign, if you will, or like.
So, he might correct me. I might be wrong with this, but I'm pretty certain, I'm 90% certain it originates from his grandfather.
Okay.
And what his grandfather did as a job. They were called Meisters, which is the translation of master, I think. And that's where it translates from. It's not, people think it's an arrogance thing, like I am the master trader. It isn't. I know he was very close to his grandfather, and I know that the name is attributed to him and what he did for a living, and that's where it comes from. And if I'm wrong, M7, then
it's all
correct me. But I'm pretty certain that's right.
Yeah, no, it's always good. The origin story.
You're right about what you say, because I think anybody who is worth the salt, when you get into these spaces, the Twitter spaces where we have thousands of random people listening, they're not premeditated questions. They're not questions that he can foresee, that he can Google, that he can answer off the bat. These are random people asking random questions at any given time in these spaces. And you're right in what you say. If he's not been in the industry there's no way on earth he'd be able to answer half the questions he gets answered, because he blows my mind every single time we're in these spaces, because something new will come up, something that we've never heard before. And for someone that's not been in the industry, you don't know these things. You can't answer them in the way and in the depth that he goes into, because it's not like it's just a one-word answer or a couple of sentences. He can talk for ages about it, and that's when you know. So personally, I think if you're asking my personal opinion why people think the way they do, I think they're just scared, if I'm being honest with you. I think they're scared of what he's capable of doing. And I think a lot of it potentially might come from jealousy as well. That potentially would be something that I would say, because I think when you fear something and you're jealous of something, your automatic action is to be defensive.
Yeah. I think, well, it's part of the space as well that we're in. Like, it's just rinse and repeat in that sense of people just being attackive and defensive and giving their opinion constantly.
Yeah.
And one thing I would imagine it points to, again, I haven't actually researched M7 or the DR concepts personally, but what I know from some screenshots is that there's a high risk to reward, right, system, that a lot of trades have a high risk to reward possibility. And that sometimes might be one indication for people to be like, that can't be real, you know? So that might be one element of it. But what is the reality? What is the reality of the system? Is it a lot of high risk to reward trades, or is that just some trades, you know, that are managing to reach that sort of target?
When we talk about high risk to reward, there's very low risk but high reward. So we're only ever taught to trade two trades per session. Okay. So you're risking one, whether it's 1%, 0.5% to gain 6, 7, 8, 9, 10%. So your risk element is always minimized. It's always a minimized risk. The reason why I think some of the trades, in terms of the way that they look, is not believed is because, they do look like it's not something that's ever been seen in the retail space. So it's almost like it is, like I said before, pink elephants and unicorns. It's all make-believe. It's Narnia. It's not real. But when you're taking 20 years worth of data and you're able to say, right, if I'm trading ES, NQ, or CL, whatever it is you want to trade, so if it's the ES or NASDAQ, I can see at this time we confirmed, we put it into the system, we put it into Lens, we put the direction of the confirmation. It gives me 20 years worth of statistical data showing me at what period the price is going to extend to and what the probability is that it's going to get to that price. And that's what we're working off. So when you're entering a trade and say it's within the middle of the DR, but you know you've got a probability that it's going to extend 2 deviations to the south, we're using data for that. So that's why we target the targets we do. It's not hindsight or make believe or guesswork, and we're just, sometimes we can pull off a lucky trade because it goes to the bottom or it goes to the moon. We're using data to predict where we extend and where we take our targets from. And when Prism gets introduced, that'll be even more accurate. So you can say with great probability where the target's going to get to. It doesn't always get to it because this isn't 100%. If it was 100%, I'd be a billionaire right now. I'd put my mortgage on it, on my house, and I'd be sat here talking about being a billionaire. So nothing's 100%, but you've got a very good probability of where price is going to get to, where it's going to retrace, at what particular time. We're able to calculate what the higher the session is or the lower the session with great probability. We're then able to stack other confluences on top of that using weekly lines, volume imbalances, specific volume imbalances that we're taught within the academy as well, that aren't standard volume imbalances, that work as pivot points for price, magnets for price, trampolines for price, where you can see it bounce off particular areas. We've got a lot of stuff that we work with. So when we're talking about his old YouTube videos where it's literally just a defining range, I can understand why people would think, these trades are just ridiculous. Like, how are you going to pull a 1 to 20, 1 to 20 trade off? It's just unheard of in the retail world. But trust me, it's possible. I've done it myself. I've only been in the academy for 7 months. We're just using data. and we're stacking, rather than using a possibility, we're using probabilities, and those probabilities are stacked one on top of each other. And the more probabilities that we've got to work with, the more confident we know that price is going to get to that particular point.
Is there sort of a plan in place?
Yeah.
A strategy of, okay, well, once we have this many probabilities stacked, that's when we execute?
Yeah. So I'm able to look at the chart in the morning before the session's begun. I'm able to look at where price is reacted to for certain volume imbalances that we work with. I'm able to look at price to see where it's reacted to with data points for previous sessions, and almost map out a plan of what I want to see happen. And if I start to see that happening, that's where I can execute the trade. Okay. So everything's pre-planned. So it's not doing it as and when it happens. You're pre-planning the trade. Okay. If it doesn't go within your favor, so what? No harm, no foul. Yeah. But if it's coming to an area that you pre-planned, you've got your confluences, you've got your data to back it up, you take the trade. Yeah. Some of the trades are so easy. We call them goldfish trades because that's the type of brain power that you need to be able to execute some of these. And that's not to discredit what we're doing in the academy as saying it's easy, because it's not. But when it comes to what you need to do in terms of executing, there's no thought process behind some of the trades we take. It's just press the button.
Would you say it's comparable to the casino allowing the games to play, like the roulette table to be played regardless of the different outcomes? They know the data, and because they have the data, they're just confident, let the game play.
Yeah. So
does that make sense?
So I think, and I think this might cause a bit of a, not controversy, but I think retail trading is you are the player in the casino. DR Academy, with the data that we have, you are the casino. So the casino loses, but it's just not bothered that it loses because it always has the edge. So it'll always make the more money than the player. But I always attribute the DR strategy and the data that we have to us being the casino. So yes, we will lose, but you will make more than you lose. And we have the edge over the retail player. That's exactly how I see it.
Definitely. So there's a lot of weight in that data points. Yeah. The data point side of things, is that just something that M7's collected, or is it something that has been developed?
So that's been developed with the team that he's got. There's a lot of developments happening behind the scenes. So we have Lens, which is our data portal. So that's where we go on and extract the data. We've got Metrics now, which is a full journaling system, which enables us to journal trades. It's also being developed to have it's integrated artificial intelligence to be able to look at your trades for the past 6 to 12 months and almost heat map where the higher probability trades are that you've taken over the last 6 to 12 months. That's coming in the future, which I think is amazing. To be able to heat map and give you a higher probability based on your own trading style is insane. It also has a back testing feature in there as well, so you can back test and journal your back testing. We've also got Prism, which is due out, which is the hyper version of Lens. We've got Lewis, who has developed Quantum Weaver, which is our psychology aspects of the academy. There's so much stuff going on, so much stuff, and he's invested a lot of money into it.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
These systems are hard, software-wise, it's actually harder than people realize to develop, and especially at a high level as well. Yeah. Is this all around futures and like NASDAQ, or is it open to FX and the currency?
Yeah, it's open to FX as well. I mean, the majority of students trade futures. So, we're at ESCL, NQ, 6E, 6B. So that's like your Euro, USD, Australian, US dollar, that sort of thing. But we do have data points for Forex as well. So as much as I trade futures, I just prefer to trade them because they're less manipulated. Yeah. We know sometimes Forex and CFDs can be heavily manipulated to a degree. But yeah, the choice of what you want to do is open depending on what your preference is. So if you trade CFDs, great, you can utilize the DR Academy as much as anyone that trades futures. There's no preference, so there's no one way or the other. It's just, I think, a majority of students prefer to trade the futures side of things.
Yeah, definitely. It's very intriguing, and you're not, obviously you're like you and then Kit are like the people I know firsthand and follow and have seen, consistently show trades and just speak on it.
Yeah.
Obviously hearing M7, but then also I see countless and growing day by day.
Yeah.
More screenshots, more trades, more feedback. It's incredible to see. Me personally, I'm someone who, whenever something new or something is being talked about, I like to look at it, I like to observe it, I like to see and hear the feedback, regardless of whether I want to join it or not, or want to change anything or not.
Yeah.
I like to see it.
I think that's important. Mm-hmm. I think having an open mind to something is I'll always appreciate someone that does that, as opposed to someone that's not tried it and just downgrades it as being something that's not real or a scam or whatever. I mean, JCap, for example.
Kyle,
Kyle. He's part of the academy, so he joined the academy. Whether he's still there or not, I don't know. But he joined, so fair play to him. It might not have been for him, but at least he didn't say, no, it's a load of bollocks, it's not for me. Phantom, Phantom? You heard of Phantom?
Yeah, I've heard of
He's now in the academy. Whether it's for those educational things to look at to see, is it for me, is it not? Yeah. Do I want to trade that way, do I not? But at least he's had the openness to go in and see what it's all about.
Exactly.
And I'll always admire anyone that does that, because it's almost like saying, to someone, oh, I don't like that food. And, well, have you tried it? No. Well, how do you know whether you like it or not? It's like...
I'm one of them. I'm one of them. When it comes to food, I'm one of them.
So am I. But, it's true, though, isn't it? Like, how do you know you don't like something unless you've tried it?
Well, the funny thing, I grew up not having any sauces at all.
Yeah.
Right? Ever. For some reason, when I got older, I must have tried it. Well, I remember everyone growing up used to be like, your food is dry. How do you like dry food? And I'd be like, no, it's not. It's fine. Because I didn't know any different.
Yeah.
Now, when I'm older, I've had these sauces. I'm like, hey, man, throw the garlic sauce on there.
Like a kid in a sweet shop.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And now I don't. Now my wife's always ripping me because when we got together, we both didn't have sauce. And suddenly I've started to develop this taste for it. And she's like, I'm disgusted at me.
But it's the same. But it's the same thing, isn't it?
It is.
It's the same thing.
It's the exact same. And I feel like most people's opinions aren't their own a lot of the time.
No.
Someone else said that's not possible.
Yeah.
So then they believe that's not possible.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate because at the end of the day, what we have to remember is just because people have chosen to try and be an entrepreneur or try to be a trader, it doesn't mean that they actually are number one, and doesn't also mean that they're going to have a positive mindset.
Yeah.
A lot of people aren't meant to be entrepreneurs, unfortunately, or traders, but yet they are in the space, which is fine. But they bring that toxic mindset with it.
Yeah.
And that's just reality. That's not just trading. That's every industry. But sometimes we forget. Like, I remember I was very naive when I was younger. I used to think everyone was the same. Everyone wanted the best for each other. Everyone wanted to progress. Everyone was motivated. Everyone wanted to work hard. Yeah. And I spent many years wasting my time trying to convince people to work hard for themselves and build something. And only until I sort of separated myself and just focused on myself did the right people come along. Because now, because I was focused, people could recognize it, so they would gravitate towards me.
Yep.
And I could also recognize the same, so I could gravitate towards them. Yep. Versus that just being with certain friends and being like, hey, let's all work hard together and we'll grow. And it might be good you have the idea and the intention's good. Yeah. That's just not the reality of the world.
No. And you hear it all the time on like motivational speeches where people talk about how, you need to cut out that, cut out those people that bring no value to your life. Mm-hmm. And I always used to think that's a bit harsh. Like, why do we need to do that? But as time's gone on, as I've become older, it's so true. Like how you need to do that, and what you just spoke about there is 100% right. Mm-hmm. There is almost like a naivety when you're younger to think everybody's got good intentions, and the world's wrapped up in cotton wool, and it's like there's no bad in the world. But I think when you get old and you become a bit wiser and you become a bit more focused, you realise that that's not the case. And being able to be strong enough to cut ties with people is I admire anyone that can do that, because it's a tough thing to do.
It is.
But when they bring no value to your life and they're stopping your dreams from becoming true, because, I've said this before on a couple of spaces that I'd always take advice of somebody that's failed 1,000 businesses over somebody that's never, ever quit a 9 to 5 because they're too scared. They moan about the job. They say how much they hate it. They say how much they wish they had another job, but will do nothing about it. Yet these are the ones that will say, don't do trading. Trading's not right. You'll burn. You'll lose money. It's a scam. How do you know if you've never tried it And how do you know if you've never got out your comfort zone? And you're the one that moans about your job all the time, yet you're still in that 9 to 5 job moaning about it. Man, no. I'd rather listen to that person that's failed 1,000 times, that hasn't got a business, but he's tried it over and over and over and over again.
That's right. Yeah.
And that for me is far more powerful than being around those people that are too comfortable with their existence.
Do you know what's funny though? Those same people will always be the ones who come back after you've done it and be like, oh, how do I get involved in this?
Yeah.
You know? And I've seen it firsthand, and you probably have started to see it. If not, I promise you when this podcast goes out and people you know from the past will see it, they will message you.
Yeah.
What are you up to now? Oh, that sounds great. Can you show me this? Can you show me that? Yeah. And it's so interesting, right? It's just so interesting how that works. And it's just, or they'll turn around and be like, can I give you money to trade? You know?
Yeah. But and it's the same with the gym as well. Like you get people that, I always get people that message me and ask me for advice. But these were the ones that were saying, oh, don't do that. Don't go to the gym. Don't train because it's this, that,
like
and the other.
this.
Yeah. And then when you look like that, it's like, oh, okay, that looks a bit good. Let's now ask him how to get there. But you know, the thing is, people want to be in your position until they realise what it takes to play your position, and then it all goes downhill because they just don't want to put in the work. And that's the same with trading. Like people just think it's dead easy. You know, I genuinely thought the academy would be a lot easier than it is.
Oh yeah,
that's humbled me massively because it's not. It's hard, regardless of what anyone says. It's hard. But I embrace that. I embrace the challenge. I embrace anything that's hard because I think the journey of getting somewhere is far better than, you know, the journey than getting there. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Than being there, sorry. So the story of how you got there is far superior because have you ever listened to anybody that's successful? The story that they tell is far more it's far more engaging than actually talking about the success.
Yeah.
Getting to that stage is a lot more interesting. But people, when you talk about hard work and when you talk about, you know, what it takes to get there, oh no, it's not for me. That it's almost like you think that they're just gonna wake up one morning and completely be changed and be able to trade or be able to be massive and be in the gym. Or it's just unrealistic.
I think that's what people expect. They think if they stay long enough close to it, one day it will change. Like there'll be like just a flick of a switch or just a complete 180. Yeah. When the reality is that doesn't exist. Like you said, the value is found in the journey itself, you know, and embracing the hard. So like you mentioned earlier in terms of, you know, it is hard to cut people off. Yeah. Right?
It's hard, yeah.
But the more you do it, not that you just go, cut off. No, but the right people, you know, you cut them off. The first time will be hard. The second time might be hard. But the third time, it'll become easier. Yeah. And I think it's the same with losses. The first loss you take in trading, hard. You know, you're going to feel it. Second one, you're going to feel it third. The more you do it, though, it's going to get easier if you allow it, though. Yeah. What a lot of people do, hard, break for 3 to 6 months, come back, hard, break, and then they just keep doing that.
Yeah, I find with a lot of things in life, I think when anything's hard, people struggle with consistency and people struggle showing up. I show up every single day. I show up at the charts every day without fail. I show up back testing. I show up journaling. I show up at lives. I've never missed a live, ever. The only time I missed a live was when did I go to... I had to have an MRI scan two weeks ago. It's the only time I've missed a live in 8 months. Now, they're pre-recorded, so you could go back and listen to them, but I listen to them as they're happening, and I've never missed a one. You know, if Master's talking on one of these Twitter spaces, I'll be listening. If he tells you to do something, I'm listening, I'm taking notes, I'm there, I'm showing up every single day because that's what it takes. It takes persistence, it takes raw grit, it takes total accountability, it takes responsibility for your actions, it takes showing up every day. You just got to do it because you can't rely on just motivation because, when you start doing trading, it's exciting. It's like, oh, like, look at these pretty candles going up and down. That looks cool. When you're showing your friends your screen, it's like, wow, it looks amazing. You don't really know what's going on, but it looks cool. And that's where the motivation kicks in. That's where it's exciting. But over time, motivation sit in front of 5-minute candles going up and down all day. It's boring as hell. that's where that discipline needs to be coming from. That's where that motivation and showing up every single day. You can't just say, oh, it's been a bit hard for 2 weeks. I'm just going to take another 2 or 3 weeks off and then I'll come back to it.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work. At the end of the day, is it right to say we're in control of our futures? Possibly not. But I'll tell you what we are in control of, and that's time. And how we choose to spend our time is something that we're in control of. And are you going to spend your time flicking through social media, looking at TikTok, looking at your sister's brothers dancing around in his cousin's underwear for a TikTok video? Or are you going to spend it in self-development? Are you going to spend your time being a victim, moaning about how shit life is for you? Or are you going to spend your time being accountable and proactive to push your life forward? And these are all the things that we're in control of. We are in control of how we spend our time. And that is the one thing that, we haven't got enough of for a start, because I'm 40 now and it's like, wow, where's that time gone? But, secondly, it's something that we can control in terms of how we spend it. And people don't spend it right. People don't spend their time right, because I'll talk to people who will be in the academy, for example, and when you speak to them about the back testing that they've done, oh, well, I didn't have time. And when you really drill it down and unpack the reasons, because I like to unpack stuff. I don't mean like boxes, like I used to do with my old job. Yeah. I like to unpack why people are saying what they say and really drill into the reasons why, because I can't accept that people don't have time to do something in 24 hours. I just find that impossible. Like when someone says, oh, I didn't have time to text you, for example, that really winds me up. Like, seriously, come on. You didn't have time, it takes 10 seconds. Like, it's a shit excuse. Or when someone says, oh, I didn't have time to go to the gym. Well, why? Well, I started work at 9 o'clock, right? Well, the gym opened at 5. So why weren't you in at 5? Oh, well, it's dark, it's cold. I didn't really... Right, so it's just an excuse. So for me, you're always in control of that. And how you spend your time is just down to you. It's not down to anybody else. And for me, that's one thing that I've always been able to manage correctly. So for me, saying to someone, are you back testing or spending time watching Netflix? What are you doing? Well, I watched Netflix today. How much back testing have you done? None. Well, there you go. You chose to spend your time doing something that serves you no purpose over something that's going to self-develop you over time. And that's the difference. And I think that's where a lot of people are in that 99% bracket as opposed to the 1%. Yeah. It's a hard work to get into that 1%.
Definitely, 100%. That's why it's the 1%. Yeah. Like you said earlier, if it was easy, everyone would do it. Yeah. But at the end of the day, you choose if you're in that 1% or not. Yeah. And I think a lot of people will hopefully have just listened to what you said there and have a moment of reflection, of accountability. One thing you did mention there is obviously, the time's gone by fast. You're 41. There's going to be people out there who resonate with you or at the similar age. But obviously, as you know, there's a lot who are younger, right? So what would you be able to say for those who are at your age, who may be reluctant in terms of change or think that change can come, because you've experienced a lot of change in the last, say, 2 years. Yeah. But then also to those youngsters out there who don't understand the essence of time yet.
I think for anyone who's a similar age to me who thinks that life can't be changed at a certain age, just get that limitation out of your head, because it's utter bollocks. We're all in a position to be the master of our own life. And I don't think no matter what age you are, you're always in a position to change it. And it's just, I think a lot of the time it comes from self-belief. I think when you hit a certain age, because you've not done it sooner, there's like a self-belief element that kicks in. But I think if you've got that self-belief to want to change and to want to do better things, then you can, no matter what age. Because for me, did I believe I could change my mindset after 35 years? No, at the time, but I have. And change is very, very possible if you want it. You've got to want it, and you've got to want to get out of your comfort zone. You've got to want to be, you've got to want to be happy with being uncomfortable first. And if you can overcome that, then you can overcome anything in terms of how to change your life. But I would say, no matter what age you are, it's never too late to change. I think the only times that, I would advise anybody is like, for me, being at that age, certain people have got commitments like mortgage, bills, family, kids. Can't just walk out of a job when you've got that. So I get that. but there's always workarounds. So there's always things you can do. Like, you know, we have people in our academy that will back test till 2 o'clock in the morning and then go and do a full-time job. I remember watching one of my first YouTube videos I ever watched was Paladin. And I remember watching one of his videos, and he stated on there that he used to sleep on his friend's sofa or a cousin's sofa, a family member's sofa. He used to trade till like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, lose, and then go do a full-time job. That takes some mental strength. So I think you've got to be willing to do that. You've got to be willing to put yourself in that position. And I always look back at that video because I admire it, because I think, wow, what a guy. Like, where he's come from and where he is now, no wonder he's doing what he's doing, because the guy used to sleep on someone's sofa. Rather than going back and doing a full-time job and earning potentially more money, he'd rather do that because he knew and had self-belief. I think if you've got self-belief, it can really put you a long way.
Yes.
But you can have that no matter what age. And I think for the youngsters amongst us, get yourself off social media. Stop wasting your time on shit that just has no value. Social media brings no value to anybody, apart from if you are able to control who you see and what you see. And that's what I love about Twitter. So I can block certain words, I can block certain people, I can block narratives that bring no value to me at all, and that block list just gets bigger and bigger. But the timeline gets smaller and smaller in terms of the value that I see. So I only have value on there now. I don't have anything else. So I think that's important. And I think, you know, if I could go back to my 20-year-old, I'd give myself a massive slap and say, listen, you'll be 40 before you know it, because time can get taken away so fast. I don't know where the last 20 years have gone. I really don't. But I think youngsters now are in such a great position because we have the World Wide Web, where there's so much free content, there's so much free value, there's so many things you can be better at than anything that I ever had when I was younger. We didn't have anything like that. I mean, I remember, I think I was 17 or 16 when dial-up was introduced. You know, you turn on your internet and you hear that horrible AOL noise.
Yeah.
Like, kids will laugh at you now because they're like, what the hell was that?
They don't even know what the sound is.
It used to take like 3 or 4 minutes to connect to the internet. And then if your mum's friend rang, it'd disconnect halfway through messaging your girlfriend on MSN Messenger. And you'd be like, for fuck's sake, mum. But now the accessibility that these youngsters have is just insane. I'd just say you need to utilize that as best you can. And just understand that, you know, spend your time wisely, because before you know it, you'll be that 40-year-old in your 9 till 5, being swallowed up by that mundane job, and it'll be really, really hard to get out of. Whereas now, it's not that hard to get out of because you're not in it. So yeah, if I could go back to my older self, that's definitely what I'd be taking advantage of.
Definitely. No, I couldn't agree more. I was saying it the other day about being trapped.
Yeah.
Social media has us trapped.
Yeah.
Our smartphones have us trapped.
Yeah.
You can flip the script. It's like the mind. Like, you either, if the mind controls you, it's dangerous.
Yeah.
If you control it, it's dangerous for you to then, you can take over anything.
Yeah.
Right? Same with the phones. If you use it wisely, like you said, in terms of the accessibility is so strong. But then if you're wasting time scrolling and doing all these things, time will just pass you by. It's a powerful statement. And the reason I said, like, with the youngsters, because you don't know. Like, I remember when I was younger, I used to think I knew a lot.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't have arrogance, luckily, but I did think I knew a lot, and I thought I knew how the world operated, and I thought I knew enough to be successful, but I didn't.
Yeah.
And I thought I knew that time, you know, concept of time, but you have no idea. Time, like, even now, I probably have no idea. I think it only starts to creep on you more and more as you get older. As you get older, like when we're 60 or 70, we'll even understand it more.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I understand it more. I mean, I don't know where the last 8 months have gone.
Yeah.
You know, we're in September now, and it's like, it's crazy. Like, it only feels like yesterday I was in holiday in early June, and we're now September. It's like time just goes so quick. It's very, very scary. But we only have one life, and you just got to make the most of it. And there's 2 things that are certain, and that's birth and death. What you do in between is totally down to you. Make your mark on the world. You know, you're going to be a somebody, you're going to be a nobody. Because there's 2 ways to suffer in life. You know, you can suffer as a nobody, or you can suffer working hard. You can suffer with brutal accountability. You can suffer showing up every day. You can suffer with persistence and grit, but you could be a somebody. So we're always going to suffer in life. There's always there's two ways to suffer. Suffer as a nobody or suffer as a somebody. You know, the option is very clear to me on which one I would take.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. And it's a powerful statement. And we're coming towards the end of the podcast here, but I want to ask you the quick fire questions that we like to do towards the end.
Okay.
And one of them I had at the beginning that I've kept somehow locked in here.
Okay.
Which was, I think you have a unique perspective based on the story that we've heard today. And that is like, does money buy happiness? Can money buy happiness?
I don't think it can buy happiness, but I think it can allow you to do things that can make you happy. So it opens up a hell of a lot more avenues for you to do things potentially. So one of the biggest things that I wanted to be able to do is help underprivileged kids. So kids in the UK, which really baffles me to this day, how, you know, kids are not, you know, being fed correctly, and we have a food shortage amongst families. It absolutely blows my mind how such a modern country like that allows something like that to happen. So as much as money can't buy total happiness, it can give you the freedom to make other people happy and to do other things with. And I think that's really powerful. And I think as much as, yes, you know, we want the big houses and we want the nice cars and we want the best for our families, it ultimately just allows you to do so much more. So money on its own, if you were to just have, say, for example, the house and the Lamborghini, no. If you were to have the house, the car, and all the other avenues that it opens up to in terms of making other people happy, yeah, for sure. Yeah, but solitary on its own, no, I don't think so.
Definitely. I couldn't agree more. And moving on to the next one, this is like a reoccurring one, actually, which is, if you could meet anyone from the past, alive or dead, you know, even in the present, famous or not, you know, completely your choice, just to spend time with or learn from, who would it be and why?
The late and great Kobe Bryant. Not a massive basketball fan, but I love his mindset. I love the stories that he generated. I love the success that he had. I love the stories that he told. I think a lot of people, young, old, you know, even if you don't know who he is, can relate to a lot of the stuff and can be inspired by a lot of the things he talks about. And I think his mindset in terms of how he played the game on and off the court was just incredible. And that was one of the things that I mentioned before in terms of M7 asked me whether you play to trade, whether you trade to win or whether you trade to not lose. It was one of the questions that was asked to Kobe. You know, when you go on the court, do you play to win or do you play to not lose? And he instantly said neither. And his response was, I play to learn. And he talks about all these things that he did to improve himself, because he openly admitted he wasn't the most talented basketball player, but his drive and ambition to make himself the greatest was what set him apart. So I remember watching a podcast once of him talking about how he used to airball a certain shot and couldn't reach the target. He would literally break it down as to why he couldn't do that. And it got to the point of where he understood that his legs weren't strong enough to do the jump that he needed to make the powerful shot. So he worked on his legs for the entire off season just to be able to do that. So whilst others were going out on vacations and whilst others were partying with other NBA players, he would be practicing to increase his leg strength over the off season to be able to do that. And I think that's just incredible, because that just shows that you don't need to be the most talented. You don't need to be the most skillful. But if you're the most hardworking, you can be perceived to be that way. Because he openly admits he wasn't the most skillful basketball player. But what sets him apart was his hard work and determination. And I think you can resonate that with trading. So you don't have to be the best trader. You don't have to be the most skillful. But if you show up when you need to, you back test when there's family barbecues going on or your mates are going out and asking you to get pissed. No, I'm not tonight. I'm going to back test or whatever. I think that can be that can be something that can lead to success over somebody who's maybe more talented that doesn't need to do as much as you do.
I think it was Denzel Washington is like a quote where he says something along the lines of, it doesn't matter how hard you work. It doesn't matter how much talent you have.
Yeah.
You know, if you're not consistent.
Yeah.
I think because if you work hard but you're not consistent, doesn't mean anything. And obviously if you're talented and you're not consistent, you're not going to go anywhere. You're not going to finish.
No.
So consistency is the answer, right?
Yeah.
And
and hard work.
Hard work and the attention to detail. But yeah, Kobe Bryant, man, absolute legend. I never really paid attention to basketball at all or any of these characters. It was actually one of my close friends who I met through the trading journey who put me onto Kobe.
Yeah.
Right. And I understand it completely now.
Oh, it's so inspiring. Yeah. On and off the court, it was incredible. But when you look at all the best of the best in their field, they all have the same common denominator.
Yes.
And it's the hard work that they put in. You know, Ronaldo, for example, greatest, if not the best there's ever been. You know, some arguably will say it's Messi. And they might be right. But when the Manchester United players would come off the field, he would stay and practice his free kicks for hours and hours and hours. I remember watching an interview with Rio Ferdinand, and he was talking about how all the rest of the United players would leave the field, and you'd just see Ronaldo. When they were walking to go home, getting in the car, he'd still be on the field practicing his free kicks. And that's what sets people apart. It's how hard you're willing to work. And that just commonly resonates with me. And it also is the common denominator with every successful person you see. There's no one successful that's ever just been given it just off sheer talent alone.
That's it. And that's where it's people's jobs to not just look at the surface.
Yeah.
So like even with me, like they might just, podcasting is easy. Like look, you just sit there and talk, and then that's it. You just blow up, and it grows easily.
Yeah, it's not.
But it's the reality of like 20, 30 episodes. I think it was 30 actually. Yeah, I think it was like 35 before we had one that was popped, and then the momentum starts to build. But even then, how do you keep the momentum going? If you get complacent, or you don't continue to learn or continue to show up or keep the momentum, it's the same principle. Yeah. Same with trading. Like you could have a great month. But that doesn't mean month 2 is going to be good, you know? Or you could have a great quarter. Doesn't mean the next. And it's the same mindset has to be there. And again, it goes back to that fantasy we talked about earlier, you know? If you believe that just because you have a good quarter, that's it, you made it now. Yeah. I guarantee the next quarter is bad.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think as well, unfortunately, we're all built to be susceptible to instant gratification. That's what we crave as humans. And when you don't get it, that's when you stop showing up. Yeah. So when that instant gratification doesn't kick in, because it's almost like, well, why am I not profitable now? Surely I should be after a week. Or why I've gone to the gym for two weeks. Why am I not lost weight, or why am I not bigger? When that instant gratification doesn't prevail, that's when people get bored. And that's when that motivation stops. And that's what I said before. If you just rely on motivation alone, you're just not going to be successful with anything that you do at all, because it just requires anything that's hard, that's worth getting in life is you got to work painlessly hard for it every single day. You can't just show up once or show up sometimes. You've got to show up every day, even when you don't want to. Some days I don't want to go to the charts. Sometimes I don't want to go to the gym, but if I relied on motivation, I wouldn't go. I wouldn't be asked. But I know that I've got the discipline enough to kick in that drags my ass there, because I know it's bringing me one step further to my goal. It's bringing me one step further to where I need to be.
Do you feel like, or from personal experience, would you say that it's a process though? Like to build the discipline, there's going to be a period in the beginning where you will be weaker. You will be susceptible to the comfort and to outside voices and your internal dialogue. But if you continue to persist in those moments, push yourself and accept sometimes, let's say you don't plan for it, you don't plan to slip up or miss a day, but if it happens, you don't chastise yourself, you don't let it snowball, you get straight back on track. During that period is where it matters most to build that muscle. Yeah,
100%. Because we are going to have off days. We're human at the end of the day. But I think how you manage those off days to get back on track is really important, because you get a lot of people that will let those bad days snowball, and that's when they give in, and that's when that showing up fails, and that's when they show up every so often or every now and then. eventually it just becomes habit. And building habits are a process. They do take a while, and they do take, they do take hard work. But it's like anything in life. It's just, nothing's easy. If it was, we'd all be doing it.
Does it? Yeah.
But the journey wouldn't be great if it was easy.
Yeah. Well, we wouldn't want it anymore.
No.
I feel like the whole reason we want to be a millionaire, to be a trader, to be whatever it may be, is because of the difficulty. It makes it shiny. It makes it attractive. So if it was easy, just pick and choose. Maybe this one day, or maybe that one day, or we would find the thing that is hard, and then probably chase after that.
Yeah. I think we've all got like two inner wolves inside us. And you've got one wolf that's proud, caring, determined. It's got lots of accountability, lots of emotion, all those great assets that you need to be successful. But we've equally got the opposite side of that with the other wolf who's negative, the victim mentality, listening to the negative voices inside our head, the lack of self-belief, the lack of determination. You decide which one you feed. You decide which one you are by which one you feed the most. And if you starve one, it's just going to eventually just die. Just choose the right one. Choose wolf one. Don't choose wolf two. And feed that inner wolf, and it's the rest will follow.
Definitely. And one question I did want to ask you was Twistz. I know obviously I asked you before the podcast. I think people would be interested as well. Like Twistz, where did the name Twistz come from?
So that comes from my older gaming days. So I used to be, I don't call it a semi-pro because I wasn't paid. So we were part of a Ghost Recon clan called Dog Soldiers. It's the shittest name ever. But we were number one in Europe for Ghost Recon for online gaming, which is a bit geeky because I don't think most people would associate me to online gaming. But it was a massive part of my life for years. But I used to get so angry in the games, and I used to get twisted, as they called it, and they used to call me Twisty. So I just changed my name from what it was to Twist, and now it's just evolved to Twist with a Z, and I've just kept it from there really because I couldn't really think about what to call myself on Twitter. So I just thought, that's cool. It's
it
works.
Works.
And people will ask why.
Yeah. Now they'll know.
Yeah,
that's the exclusive. I love it though. Do you ever think that because of those gaming days, I would imagine they'll before like gaming was so big as it is now.
Yeah.
Do you ever feel like I should have stuck at it, and then you'd still be in the sort of, you'd probably be part of FaZe Clan or something like that?
No, but do you know why? Because when I look at it now, and there is actually someone in FaZe called Twist.
Is
believe it or not? Yeah, there is. Yeah, I thought the bastards stole my name. No, because when you look at these kids now when they're playing these games, they're fucking good. Like I was shit in comparison. Like we were number one in Europe, but like I'm looking at these kids now today, and I just think, wow, like they're just insanely good. But yeah, I mean that's part of my life that still sticks with me now because I still game every so often. It's like my downtime. So
what's your game of choice now?
Call of Duty.
Oh really?
Yeah, it's a Warzone.
We'll have to play sometime.
Yeah.
I'm terrible.
Oh yeah.
I went through a little period during. Was it during COVID? I think it was like during like the whole lockdown stuff and stuff like that. I went through a period. One of my friends is amazing. Right. He's incredible. He could definitely be a streamer. Like he's absolutely savage. Yeah. So I used to play with him. So he'd give his little tips. Change your control settings to this.
Yeah, I've done all that. Yeah, I'm proper still nerdy with it. I mean, to be fair, I'm not too bad. My KD, my kill death ratio is like 3.7.
Yeah, you're good.
Which is pretty good.
You're good. You should be a streamer.
Yeah, no, just. But yeah, no, I just it's like my downtime.
It's good. No, it's good. I think everyone has something.
Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes people put a false expectation of like there's nothing. You're just grinding all the time.
Yeah.
And yes, like 95%. Have that 5% because otherwise it's not healthy long term.
No. And the other thing as well is, I want people to understand that, what they see on Twitter isn't a reflection of what is going on with the majority of people. And the majority of the time, it's only 5% of what you see is really happening. The other 95% is all the hard work, all the shit that you don't see behind the scenes, all the shit that's going on with your family, all the hard work and hours that you've put in, all the back testing hours that you've put in. I put in hundreds of hours of back testing, hundreds of hours of live streaming, watching the, M7's videos over and over again. But people only see that small element of it. Yeah. but it takes so much, and it can take so much of your mental strength to do that 95%. I can 100% relate to why people give up, but you'll never fail as long as you don't give up. The only time you really genuinely fail is when you quit.
Yeah.
You know, failing is all right, and it's part of the process. And I think a lot of people struggle with that. I think a lot of people fear failure. They fear how they're going to look in front of their peers. They're afraid of how they're going to look in front of their family. It's almost like it's been fear-mongered into us that, you know, failing is a negative part of the journey. It's not. You know, failing is part of the process. And I think if you're not failing, you're not working hard enough.
Yeah. Well, it was a saying by, I think it was Denzel Washington again. As you go, I'm a fan.
Yeah, I can't tell.
But he said something along the lines of very similar, like if you're not failing, then you're not even trying.
Yeah, it's true.
You know? And I think it was J.K. Rowling, the Harry Potter author, said something similar, like if you've never failed, you failed as a default.
Yeah.
You know, and it's
true. And I love all these people because you know, all these people started with nothing.
Exactly.
You know, you look at Jeff Bezos, he's one of the richest men in the world. He started in his garage selling books. You know, J.K. Rowling lived above a chip shop writing novels that nobody wanted to listen to and nobody would take her seriously. And now look, it's like, you know, Steve Jobs, you know, is another great example. It's just, you know, these people we can learn from. And I think, you know, I'm lucky that I have a mentor that is as successful as he is, because I really think that in order to be successful as well, you've got to surround yourself by these people as well. There's no point in surrounding yourself by someone who's never done it, because that doesn't make sense to me. Surround yourself by someone that's done it, because I want to be in his position. And I think to be in his position, you've got to have done whatever he's done to be there. And we're lucky because we get to see that 3 or 4 times a week, you know, on lives. And we get to speak to him every day. So, you know, it's true as well. Surround yourself with those types of people, because, you know, that makes it a lot easier as well.
Definitely. And that leads me to the next question, actually, which is like, what are your goals next? Like, what are your goals for the foreseeable future?
I just want to be a better person every day. If I can be better by 1% for myself, for my partner, for her lads, for my family, for friends, then that goal's enough for me. Just being better every day. Where would I like to see myself in a year's time? Helping more people. I think there's a lot of people that struggle in the world because they don't have the right start in life as well. And I know it's going to sound cheesy, this, but that genuinely is something that I'd love to do. In terms of a long goal, is be in a position that would enable me to give other people that start, that chance to do things. You know, I get messages all the time from people saying that they aren't able to pay for M7's tuition because the minimum wage just doesn't pay. You know, they're earning $2-3 a week or whatever, or an hour. So sorry. And so that really gets to me, because I want to be in a position where my goal has been achieved that allows me to then give back. Because as much as this journey is for myself, it's also for family and friends and whatever. It's also about giving back as well. And I know that sounds cheesy, but that's part of the academy. That's something that M7 instills in us all the time, is, you know, he wants to give back to people, and he wants the people he's given back to then give back as well. So it's like a downward, you know, a downward pyramid, if you will. It's like it levels down in terms of, you know, the help that we give. So, yeah, for me, it's just, you know, that goal is to help other people achieve, you know, potentially where I'm going to get to, which would be a full-time day trader would be amazing.
Definitely.
You know, and then giving people back that help would be incredible, especially for me, where I came from nothing in terms of trading. You know, because as far as I was concerned, trading for me meant nothing. You know, I didn't have a clue what it was. Yeah, I've seen Wolf of Wall Street, of course. But in terms of turning TradingView on and knowing what candles were, as far as I was concerned, candles were what my missus used to burn in the house to make the room smell nice. That's where my candle knowledge stops. So I never knew what it was. So literally, I've come from nothing to where I am today, to where potentially I could be in another 12 months, a year's time. It's just insane to think about.
It is.
And it's going to that unknown again, and that excites me.
I have zero doubts of what you'll be able to achieve.
Thank you.
Based on your work ethic and even a level attention to detail and knowledge that you hold already. let alone obviously, again, like you say, in 6 months, 12 months
Yeah.
and beyond time. Have you ever thought about making content of some kind?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because like I said, helping people would be major. I think it's just, again, not having that knowledge and knowing where to start. But I didn't know where to start with trading, and I do now. I know I'm here 6 months later. I didn't know where to start with bodybuilding, but 17 years later, I'm here. I didn't know where to start with being a sales manager of a major car brand, but 10 years later, I was still doing it. So yeah, it's definitely something that I want to do. I've managed to grow my account on Twitter from, I think in December it had like 30 followers to just under 6,000 now in 8 months, which I think is pretty good. I don't know.
That's really good. Yeah.
But
it's not like you tried, have you?
No, just doing what I do, and then hopefully by the end of this year, I'd like to get it to 10 maybe. I don't know.
I think you should.
Ambitious.
No, I think you should. 100%.
But yeah, content is definitely something that I want to start doing, because I want to start showing the world what we are able to do in DR Academy, because I don't think there's enough of it, and I think a lot of people can benefit from it.
100%. Let's we'll talk after this anyway, because I think people will agree. So let us know in the comments if you do. But I think from this conversation, you articulate yourself well. You hold a lot of knowledge and a lot of wisdom that I think, even just on that front in terms of helping people, just mindset wise,
definitely,
it's already there.
Yeah.
And I think there's definitely loads of different things that you could do.
Cool.
And yeah, we'll talk. But the last question for you: do you feel like M7 should go on a podcast, not this podcast, but just a podcast in general?
Yes, and I think the whole trading world would benefit from his expertise, because not only when it comes to trading, but everything else that we get in terms of the assistance when it comes to mindset, because mindset is such a big thing, as we know. We spoke about it for the last hour and a half, 2 hours. It's incredibly important, and something that he is very, very good at is being able to talk about mindset. So yeah, I think the world would benefit from an M7 podcast, but I'm not sure whether he's ready to share his name, to share his face. I've seen a gym picture of him.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Blacked out.
Yeah, the guy's ripped.
Really?
Yeah, he's ripped to death.
There you go.
He's got noodle arms. And he's not going to be upset for me telling that to the world, because we have a joke about it. He calls me noodle legs, I call him noodle arms. But yeah, the guy's jacked. He's into his MMA.
People wouldn't see that coming, would they?
No. But there's talk about a retreat into Dubai next year. So 2024,
Very nice.
Dubai. It's been called DR Land.
I like that.
So that'll be like a get together of the students. A meeting of M7. He's challenged me to get into the octagon with him. I'm just going to plan on sitting on him. I don't fancy getting kicked. I'm just going to put on as much weight as I can and just sit on him until he taps out. But yeah, he's just everything about him just is beneficial for traders and beneficial for those that aspire to be traders, because he's got everything nailed to a T. The mindset, the meditation, the breath work, the cold baths, the way he trades, just everything about it is just, it's complete flow state. It's like us driving. We don't need to think about it now. You just get in the car, turn it on, put it in gear, drive, and you could probably, not that I would advise it because it's illegal, but do multiple tasks whilst driving.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to get at is that we can literally not think about it and we can get to where we need to get to.
Taps into the subconscious.
Correct. Whereas when we first started to learn, we're struggling with the gear, we're grinding the gears, we're not changing the clutch correctly. The clutch to acceleration ratio is just off and we're jerking. We're clipping curbs, not being able to reverse. That's what the trading journey is like. But he has now entered that complete flow state of where we are with driving, he is with mastery of trading. Why wouldn't anyone want to listen to somebody in the retail space? Because it's never been done before. Nobody from that world has ever entered the retail space. So I think it'd be great for him to be on podcast. Yeah,
definitely.
I'm going to bend his ear. I'm going to get him on.
That's it. Imagine. But yeah, no, definitely. Because like I said, the knowledge, that's what it's all about at the end of the day, isn't it? Knowledge, experience, and what the amount of things that people can learn from a conversation. Like, I already know this particular podcast episode is going to do incredible. The the truth is, in terms of the views, views is a reflection of value. Right? In some form.
Yeah.
So I already know this episode will do very well based on the value and the way that you portrayed your story, the value within your story, and the value that people can take away. And that's why I feel like you definitely should, in some way.
Yeah, I'd like
content.
to. Yeah, I think it'd be beneficial for not only for me, get me out of that comfort zone a little bit.
Yeah.
Because this is really daunting for me to do this. To be honest with you.
Hey man, I've had people where they're shaking. So
yeah,
you're good. You're good.
It's been great. So thank you for that. But yeah, I think people will benefit from that as well because I would like to show the world what is capable with the system that we're shown, and what is capable from somebody who has only been doing it for such a short time is able to achieve by putting in the work. Because there's only so much M7 can do, and if you don't put the work in, then the rest isn't going to follow. But we have got such an edge and such a great strategy and such a great head start in the retail space. I'd love to put it out there, in terms of, charts, videos, talking about it. But yeah, I wouldn't know where to start on the clue.
Yeah, we'll get that down. We'll get that down. But we're definitely going to have you back as well.
Cool.
Because it was a pleasure. But
I think this time next year, I think everyone will know my name.
Oh, 100%. I think they're going to know your name very soon.
That's what I'm going to. That's a goal. You've asked me what a goal is. That's going to be my goal.
I like that.
Everyone's going to say, yeah, I know who that guy is. He trades
He's
VR.
twisted.
Yeah, he's a twisted trader.
I love that. No, I love it, and it's a great goal to have.
Yeah,
and
cool.
I think you will achieve it.
Thank you, man. Thanks.
But John, thank you for coming down.
Thank you for having me.
And my
It's been
pleasure.
great.
And everyone, make sure you check out John's link in the description below. I'm going to put it right below, so it'll be at the top of the video. And thank you for tuning in. Let us know your comments because there's some incredible things shared in this podcast. And until next time, everyone, take care.